Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dunigan.
We're coming back at you with another unproduced script, this time with a TMNT Ninja Turtles one. The turtle script referred to as the Blue Door script from, 2012 or whatever. That's what it's actually literally written on this script right here. It goes, 1/30/2012, we're done, man. Fucking finish this. And it comes from, all we know is their name is Applebaum and Nemec. I could have looked more up at this, but Applebaum and Nemec are the two guys that wrote this. I assume they're guys.
Yeah, I'm assuming too, just the way they wrote April. But going further into this right here, because I notice a lot of the time, I really don't know entirely why they do it, but I guess there's that thing of like, they come up with code names for movies before they're really that far into production. And this one was just called Blue Door for some reason. I know that the Return of the Jedi was called Blue Harvest. It was mainly just to scare people off, like George Lucas is filming a new movie. It's not Star Wars. Oh, okay. But
yeah, I remember that last time he made a movie. It wasn't Star Wars, involved like cars or some bullshit in it.
There's bald people. They are naked. People in masks are beating them. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, shit. When I bought the DVD, it said from the guy who created Star Wars. Fuck this.
That is a major jump from like that. If you think back, that was a major jump from American Graffiti to Star Wars.
Really? Well, yeah. So it's like that, and then you got THX right before that, which is almost like very, very 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah, even that. I mean, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I don't know if I remember. I barely remember it. I just remember people were naked and they're getting beaten. I remember that at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody had shaved heads. Like, I have that super special edition of it, but it's like one of those movies like I watched once, and it was like, huh, that was interesting. Definitely knows. I was expecting like somebody to be swinging a fucking lightsaber at some point. Didn't get that.
Yeah, but anyway, so just going back, every so often they'll just have a movie underneath a code name. Like apparently Batman Begins under the code name The Intimidation Gang. Maybe just so people are like less likely to look into it or whatever. I don't know. But this one's Blue Door, and this is apparently the working version they had before they went and made the Michael Bay movie. Apparently this is the version they wrote right before Bay got on board. And from what I understand, this is apparently that script where they say they're aliens, which pissed a lot of people off. And I guess Bay read this, and he probably like knew of the Ninja Turtles and read this like, oh yeah, because like they're aliens and shit. And then like, they're not fucking aliens. Like, oh jeez Christ! All right, we're not going to use that fucking script. We'll figure something else out.
Shit, I'll get to the producer section. Then they can't threaten me that much anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about this one, because like really those like the two Michael Bay produced ones. Like, this script kind of, like, they sort of, like, pulled some stuff from it. You could kind of tell just with certain scenes and so on. I mean, it definitely does their own thing in the other two movies, but you could sort of see where they got some of the ideas from.
Yeah, there's, like, literally, it feels like scenes lifted out of there, plopped in here, as well as certain themes and moments. But, I'll say this one stands out more than other Turtle movies that were made. I'm going to say, like, as far as, like, live-action Turtle movies that were made, I guess when you think it's down to it, let me think here. Well, I guess, you got the first two, which I like, and then you got the fourth one, even though that one's not live action, that one's really good. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just kind of okay with the first Bay one, and I like the second one more just because it embraces how insane it is, but I don't think, like, it's as witty as it could be. But it was still, it just embraced the insanity. And this one seems a little bit more like, I feel like the second Ninja Turtles movie pulls more from the script than the first one did.
Yeah, it definitely kind of has that. I like how you never mentioned the third Ninja Turtles movie, just like didn't even come across on that.
Well, the third one's I don't give a shit about the third one. I tried watching it again. There's that thing you like it when you're a kid, and
because when I was a kid, that was my favorite. That was like one of my favorite ones. Almost was the third one, but I think it was just the fact like they go back in time, the samurai days. Like that was already mind blowing enough to a child. You didn't need any more than that for it to be the best Ninja Turtles movie.
Well, I watched it again, like probably not a while ago, probably like 10 years ago. And I was still like, I'm not into that one. Because we both got that set where it's all four movies and we were just in a marathon mode. Uh-huh. We're like, oh, fuck. Well, I guess it's a good thing the fourth one is there to wash the taste out of our mouth,
Yeah, the third one, I'll say this, and like kind of like watching it over and over, it's kind of like, it's definitely my least favorite out of every single Ninja Turtles movie, but that's not saying I still have that kind of like, well, you know, there was a special time for this, and it is kind of like corny, but whatever, it's kind of got that, I don't know, I feel like you had to kind of been there to see it. Like, you couldn't show that to somebody nowadays and expect them to be like, hey, check out this Turtles movie.
Well, the first one, I think the first two, even though I like them, I think that is more of a you had to be there kind of thing. And the first one's interesting because it has the whole thing of like, it's more or less the retelling of the first arc of the comics, just kind of more in a PG kind of style.
Well, that's about the same. It's about the same as the comics, because people always refer to the comics as being like, oh, they're so hardcore. I'm like, they're really as hardcore.
They're not that they're that hardcore.
There's hardcore is like
they killed more, and they're a little bit more. There's a little bit more like language or whatever. But it wasn't like it was you're reading something like Dark Knight. But it was a little darker though, still.
Yeah, because that's the one thing is like you read those comics, you go like they're just like a tad bit more like almost like it's if the cartoon was rated PG, the maybe the comics is like TV-14, but like just barely that. It just felt like it's really just the same as any Batman comic of like the time period. Just. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just I think it's just the thing. Maybe I think people like compare it. They see like a Saturday morning cartoon show, and then they see that. I guess it's the same way you could say if Batman. You could see Batman like as like, 1970s like Super Friends Batman, and then all of a sudden you pick up like a Batman comic. You're like, what? What's going on here?
Well, I think that's also the thing. People for a while thought of Ninja Turtles, even though it's a comic. People thought of it more as a cartoon than anything else. So when they had this, when they said like, oh, the comics used to be way darker, because there was a whole thing. They actually killed Schrader. He was dead for a while. Eventually came back as a zombie
thing,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's also the whole aspect of it being, the cartoon was essentially the freak of the week. That way we can make a toy off this guy. So. There's like a difference, and I think that it's not that it was so much more darker, but I think it was like tonally different because the original the original was just basically a big parody on Frank Miller and then other 80s properties at the time in comics. So that's kind of what it was satire and all that. Mm-hmm. And this one I can see it's trying to kind of lean more into that, and it's trying to pull back a little bit on the Saturday morning cartoonness. But there's some things, like, as we'll go into it more, but there's some things as this script goes on, it feels kind of like, all right, there's some things here and here that are very, very staples of the time of when this came out, or very reactionary to say Batman Begins. And then there's other things that are kind of like, oh, that's a weird choice.
Yeah. No. It is interesting, but let's jump into it. Let's get started.
So it kind of opens up with just Colonel Schrader.
Yeah, but they call him Schrader for some reason, and this is like that's like the weirdest thing. Because at first I was like, who the fuck is this Schrader guy? Like, is this a fucking typo or something like this? And then once you see it about 5 times, you're like, I guess it's not a typo. You know what I mean? It's like, who is this? Is this like the Schrader guy from like Breaking Bad? Like, what is going on?
And he's basically just this military guy with his own Black Ops unit. They essentially just call the Hand. And they never really explain entirely too much what the Hand looks like. They say they wear all black. Or the Foot. That's what I meant.
We're not in Daredevil.
The Foot's a parody of... The Foot's a parody of Daredevil. But or of the Hand. That's what I meant. But the Foot... So it's kind of like, it brings up the question, like, I wonder if they're made just to look like Black Ops soldiers, which is more or less what they look like in the Michael Bay one, or if they're that kind of like Metal Gear Solid style kind of ninja. Where remember in when you get near the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, how you got guys that are in SWAT gear, but they still have swords, and they look like a cross between a Navy SEAL and a ninja?
Yeah, see, that's how I'd hope they would look, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to be the guys of guns, because that's the only thing, I will say it's like, in the Michael Bay one, it's like, you could give those guys some swords and stuff. I don't know what it is. Like, I know that that's going to probably bother some, like, older person who doesn't give a fuck about Ninja Turtles, but here's the thing. Everybody who cares about the Ninja Turtles, they just want turtles fighting people with swords. They just want ninjas. Come on.
Yeah, which is, the first one had no problem just keeping that in there.
Yeah, exactly, so... but if they were like that kind of Metal Gear Solid thing, that'd be even more amazing. But that feels like that's a writer for another time period, not 2012.
Now this is strictly keeping it to this to the script file we have, and it's kind of broken down in pages and one long page. But it's kind of funny because as you're scrolling through this, it keeps on saying, because essentially there's this General Davies or Davis, whatever, who, like, Schrader's like, all right, we're going down to this compound, which has been inactive for this many years. Like, are you really going to do this? He's like, well, if I get your approval, I am. Then all of a sudden you go down, and just blue door. I'm like, all right, cool. And then you're just going down a few more spots, and I'm like, blue door. Like, oh, I kept on thought that was like the title for a second. Like, that's where the title comes in. So after a while, there's just this thing of like, oh, will you go get that door? Blue door! Just pops in like every so
Well, yeah,
often.
it's like you can put the title at the top like a normal person does. I don't know why you have to put it on every single page or whatever.
Yeah, so it just kind of popped in my head. And, like, there'd be just like a pause of like, something very unimportant. Like, oh, yeah, will you hand me my
Blue door.
Sword, Leonardo? Blue door! Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, one of those ones. But then they go to start this, thing like, it's called Project Ares. That's what we're going for.
Going to Project Ares, and says they're starting in New York, and they got this big like container with something inside of it, and they're heading over down to Michigan, I believe. And that's where we cut to Michigan. We cut to Casey Jones. All right, Casey Jones is in this, and he's 18. He's young, and this isn't me trying to be a dick. I'm just saying he barely resembles Casey Jones other than he plays hockey. So that's another thing they pulled from the sequel, from the second Ninja Turtles movie. The second Michael Bay one.
Well, because that's always the weird thing about the second Michael Bay one. It's like, it's so cool. It's like, oh, when I heard it's like, it's Stephen Amell as Casey Jones. That's amazing. And then it's kind of like they did sort of like the half-assed job with him, which it's like, in the Arrow show, he has this wig that he could put on, and he has long hair when he's on the island. I'm pretty sure he could bring that over if you need it for shooting. Just saying.
Well, the other thing that was weird about that one, and we don't want to go a whole tangent on that, but the weird thing was weird about that is you already got, Dimension X and the Technodrome and Bebop and Rocksteady and all this crazy shit. There's a part where there's a tank going down a river shooting at turtles, and they all survive somehow. And, like, I'm not sure people are going to believe a guy in a hockey mask.
Well, it's the weird thing too. It's like, and they've strived away from like making Casey Jones like very blue collar. Like they want to make him. They're like, well, we don't want kids to like relate to some kind of slacker guy who like sleeps on people's couches and carries around like a dirty like golf bag. Because that's the other thing too that kind of bothered me is like Casey Jones. Like they always just focus on like even in this script too. They just focus on the hockey player. I'm like, no. Casey Jones. I mean, like he is a hockey player, but he carries around like an assortment of he's got golf clubs and like tennis rackets and, baseballs and all kinds of things like that. And I always think that's just what makes that character so cool. Because I think Casey Jones is one of the coolest characters ever created. Just for the fact that he is literally the guy that if you wanted to become a superhero, that is the most realistic way you could become a superhero. Is you just go grab your old funky golf club bag and you fill it up with whatever like sports equipment you have. You put on a hockey mask and you go out into the night and you fight with, and that's your weapons. And I just think that in itself, I know that might sound kind of corny to like somebody else, but I'm like, I don't know. Like that to me is always like sounded so cool and like, oh, it's almost like inspirational for the fact that Casey Jones is just a guy who I just always picture him working kind of just basic jobs. Like when it's like, and that other one, where it's like, oh, I'm going to become a detective. I'm like, well, that's not Casey Jones. Casey Jones is the guy who's like fucking working at like the corner store. You know what I mean? And he's only there for like 2 weeks until he can get like another job.
Casey Jones, I know we say this all the time, but I'm listening to his autobiography via audiobook right now, so it's fitting. So it's kind of more in this mode. But Casey Jones is totally a Bruce Springsteen song. That's what he is.
For that thing, like I'm listening to Casey Jones' autobiography, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, this sounds amazing. Tell me more about this.
That's the day I met a giant talking turtle, and he changed my life forever.
But like that's how I kind of Casey Jones is like the Bruce Springsteen song type character, you know what I mean? Like, he always rents, he never owns, And I think it's like they've kind of changed him, like kind of like media, like not the first movie, because the first movie gets like 100% correct. But I feel like as kind of time has gone on, they're like, let's clean this dirty Casey Jones up, you know what I mean? He's always like one step away from just like, robbing a bank or something like that. He's almost an outlaw, but it's like, but that's the thing though. He's a guy who could be a villain, you know what I mean? But he's got just enough like to be the, still a hero, you know what I mean?
And there's that whole thing of like somebody's like, no, like, Peabody Award winning journalist is gonna go with some like asshole who's just crashing on people's couches and beating someone up with a baseball bat. Like, well, in the comics they do.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you know what? She likes those guys. In the '80s, he's one of those characters. He's kind of like a Judge Dredd, where I felt like he worked in the '80s and early '90s, but like the second that like the times changed, like people just couldn't handle Casey Jones anymore. Like, and it's so, you know what I mean? Like he's almost like a man out of time.
Well, they kind of even though we both like Turtles, they still heavily aim Turtles towards kids. So I think that they're afraid, like, we don't want kids to put on a hockey mask and go around beating kids in their neighborhood.
Yeah, and grow out like a fucking mullet, and you know what I mean, and be half shaven and sleeping dirty on someone's couch, and I don't know. I just feel like there's just people out there like in the suburbs that like kind of got into Ninja Turtles and be like, you know what, that Casey Jones character is the one part I just can't get around.
Now, the way they do Casey Jones in this seems kind of like a byproduct of what was happening in a lot of adaptations at the time, like how Transformers kind of made the Shia LaBeouf character the main character, and he was just more reacting to the Transformers. Casey Jones is more or less that for this movie. Now, I know that other movies had, the human character there, but the human character's there just to introduce things. Once things got rolling along, it was mostly the Turtles that took the spotlight. And even though the Turtles are still massively huge and in most of the movie, it is still kind of Casey Jones' story to some extent.
Which I will say, I do kind of like that Casey Jones actually does have a big part in this. I mean, I know it's kind of like the Shia LaBeouf character, where like the Shia LaBeouf character, I just feels like that, like when you watch like Transformers, like yeah, there is that kid, but that kid's barely fucking there. Where like that kind of took over. I'm like, well, in the comic books, Casey Jones is there quite often. He is one of the main. You would say he's almost like the fifth turtle, even though he's not a turtle. But you know what I mean.
At the same time, though, you kind of forget that it is Casey Jones because he plays hockey at the beginning, and besides that, he's a security guard. They get across that he, April is like some well-doing college student who's got an internship over in New York City.
She's got it at CBS in this one. It's just like, oh
yeah, look out. And then the whole thing is is CBS owned by Time Warner? I'm just trying to think of who would have made this movie.
No, because Time Warner would have been Warner Brothers. I don't think CBS is that. I think that
didn't Warner Brothers make? Oh no, it's Paramount. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, well, Paramount that was when Nickelodeon had it. I don't know if maybe Nickelodeon had it by 2012.
No, I'm trying to think. Well, the whatchamacallit, the Michael Bay ones are produced by Nickelodeon. So.
Yeah, because Nickelodeon owns Turtles.
They're owned by Turtles, and I think they're owned by Paramount, or I don't know. Anyway, well, but whatever.
Because before that, it was like New Line, which was Warner Brothers that had it. So maybe, God, what is CBS owned by? That's a good question there.
So, but regardless, so as things go on, you see that he's just some guy that
You know what? I gotta say this. I think CBS is owned by Warner Bros. Sorry, I was just thinking of like my DVD collection and picturing like like how the boxes were set up. I'm like, okay, on 2.5 Men, I think it's got a Warner Brothers logo on. Maybe it is.
Glad we got that one down.
It's okay. It would have bothered me all night if I didn't think about that.
Just be slaying awake like fuck. I could get my phone, but no. Then that means I lost if I have to check it online.
No, yeah, that's cheating. I don't like that when people do that. I feel like, no. In the old days, you just had to think. People forgot how to think.
So, but going back to this for a second.
The only thing that's kind of weird, though, is it's weird that, like, both Casey and April come from, like, Noah Falls, Michigan. Because I feel like April... And, I mean, maybe April could kind of be, like, an import. But I feel that, like, Casey represented everything Brooklyn. You know what I mean?
At least Jersey.
Yeah, so it's so weird that he's like a guy from Michigan now. Like, hey, I'm Casey Jones, eh? I play hockey down here of these other heathens.
Yeah, that was the thing. Well, I guess I like the aspect of the road trip because that's something that I liked about this. The first half of this is a road trip, which I'm not used to seeing the Turtles do that. I'm used to seeing them stay in New York the whole time. So seeing them in a road trip out of their element was cool. Not just in another city, like out in the country. I thought that was cool. But the idea of it being Casey Jones way out there, and they have to get him into New York. But anyway, we're jumping ahead. So essentially, short and simple of it, April is going to an internship in New York.
I gotta say this, Casey. When he's playing that hockey game, I know this. I know we're like 3 pages in, we can't get past this. But there's the line in here that you just like you're writing a Ninja Turtles script, right? You know the movie's gonna be PG or PG-13, and I love how Casey has this guy he's battling on the hockey rink called like Kaleido or something like that. He's like his rival, and it's like Kaleido's I fucking Casey as he picks himself up off the ice. Just like
it's weird because they're constant. The guys who wrote this,
they want like a rated R like fucking turtle script practically.
Like it's not in any of the dialogue, but it's in all the like details. Like narration. details. He stands there at him with a what the fuck kind of look. And they use the term "I fucking" a lot. Raphael is "I fucking," is "I fucking" Leonardo with hatred. Just
You know, it's just kind of like, do you guys sort of know what that word means? Because you're just using it kind of like a little freeform here. It's like, the "I fucking" with brothers is fucking weird to use it like that.
Makes it incest. They're turtles. That makes it a little extra weirder.
I mean, maybe the rival guy, he could just be like, he probably just wants to fucking, maybe, because I still picture when I see Casey Jones.
He's the one closeted guy, and he's the one closeted guy in the small town of Michigan, so he's got a lot of shit built up in him.
So yeah, he just takes it out on the ice with violence, but if he would have got Casey, he would have been pulling on his long hair in the fucking bathroom and be like, "Quiet, boy, it's me and you now. That's it. It's no more eye fucks now. It's the real thing."
That was a deleted scene. They tried to pitch that in an earlier draft of this, but like, dude,
this
is gonna be bought by Nickelodeon in a year. Like, that's why we're gonna make it now.
That was gonna be the opening scene. It wasn't that one with Schrader and like putting together like just gonna be a hard cut from the New Line Cinema screen just going in, and all of a sudden you just hear these fuck sounds.
For some reason, opening credits, they still have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Are here.
just a hardcore man-on-man rape scene, just right off the bat in the back of a hockey rink.
Okay, you guys went real art school with it at the very beginning.
Well, shit, we knew that the Joker was coming out, so we had to top it before then.
Then it didn't come out as soon as we thought it would, but still.
Still, we made sure we got there first.
So that doesn't happen. But basically, we get across that he's good at hockey, and then he bumps into Abel. There's all these like, "Hey, kid, you should come out and get a beer with us." Like, I'm only 18, but, I can't anyway. I gotta go to work. Bye. We all like you, kid. That kind
Because he's playing with a bunch of, 40-year-olds or something like that, it says, in the script.
He's, the youngest guy out there. And then April shows up and rolls in, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm back in town." He's got these groupies trying to get
"Hey, bitch, get away. I don't know you."
Yeah, I'm like, "Get the fuck off me," And then April's like, "All right, well, tell you what, I'll see you a little later." And then "Okay, I'll see you later." And then he stops at home for a second, gets across that his mom's a nurse who's working late. He's just like, "I always wish you could be more, but you haven't. Love you, bye." And it's like, okay, I'm off to work at a
security guard at a box factory of furniture.
Yeah, and that's when at some point. That's where the convoy with Schrader comes rolling in.
Schrader comes in.
And he's like, "That's weird. There's nothing on the schedule here." He's like, "Check it again." There's static pops up. Like, "Oh, okay, all right, going through." And that's right when April shows up. There's something we had to talk about. There's something we have to talk about. I want you to come with me and this and that. He's like, "But I got a lot of responsibilities protecting furniture."
Yeah, he's like, and my mom, she's like, "Don't bring your fucking mom in it. She's fucking healthy and happy. You make it out like she's fucking dying. Like that fucking Joker movie." "Yeah, it's not like that."
"Are you pouring water on your mom's head in the bathtub? Are you doing that shit?" Like, "No, it's weird."
Yeah.
It's that fucking Joker movie, but for some reason you want to stay, though.
For some reason you got something here in Michigan that just keeps bringing you back. Remember those 40-year-old guys that try to get you drunk every night at the hockey arena?
Oh, fuck, that's why they always want me to go with them.
They're always petting your long mullet. You ever thought that was fucking weird? I thought that was weird all whole time. I thought it was weird when you're 14 years old playing hockey with them.
You ever think it was weird that Frank was trying to braid your hair while you were sleeping? He didn't even have the key to the house, but he got in there somehow.
And then he put one of those hippie flowers in your ear right there, so she walked around and said you look pretty. Yeah, that was pretty fucking weird that one time you invited me there. That's why I never came back to your games.
They just they always get mad whenever you say you're gonna cut your hair. So maybe that's the reason why they want you looking like I don't know why they just don't go for a girl, but whatever. It's them. I think it's all this pent up anger.
It's just a Michigan lifestyle. I don't know what to say. You know what I mean?
Anyway, I'm moving to New York. You coming?
Yeah, I'm moving to New York to get away from this weirdness. It's okay. It's not New York 1981 anymore. It's gonna be New York 2012.
After Giuliani's cleanup, yeah. We're talking Friends, New York.
So
Or maybe by this point, How I Met Your Mother, New York. So yeah, yuppie as fuck.
And then she's like, well, whatever, fuck you, Casey. I thought we had something. Well, I got my U-Haul, so if you change your mind, but whatever, I'm out of here. April out.
Product placement, because Penske wouldn't pay. Fuck you. Bye. And then we go on, and essentially they're once again moving this giant cage, and he hears yelling. He's like, what the fuck is that? And he goes, I'm trying, does he go back, or does something else? Isn't there like another set of convoys that come in?
There's something like that. He's like, I'm going to go investigate it. So he goes in the back of his, like, 79 Ram Charger and grabs out his, like, hockey mask, grabs his, like, hockey stick. He puts, like, you know, a fucking cup in or whatever. He's like, fucking ready. If anybody's going to kick me in the nuts tonight, I'm set.
So I just gotta hope that's where they go for him. That's where I always go.
It's okay, I'll put a bat signal on it there, so then they know to go for it.
Why do you think I walk around with a target on my chest? And my balls. And then just has a bat symbol over his balls.
So they kick right
Redlined. Yeah.
Believe me, I learned this from 007. This is how you prevent yourself from having kids in the future, so think about it, Robin.
Just saying. So from there, what they end up doing is he ends up just going through there, and he sees that there's some weird secret military operation shit happening underneath this factory. Like a long time ago, the Cold War, this factory was like a base or a military operation. Can't talk right now. A military lab. And in there they're moving in this cage, and like once again, he's hearing screaming and yelling, and they inject something into whatever this thing is, and then, you know, he's like, oh, we got the spinal serum. Let Krang know we're ready for the invasion soon. And he's like, what the fuck? Invasion? And then while he's sneaking around, maybe he gets into a tussle with one of the guards, I don't remember. But while he's sneaking around, he comes into this room where there's these 3 humanoid turtles all there, not wearing masks, not with weapons at all.
They got black masks on. It mentions that somewhere.
Oh, that's right. I thought that. Oh yeah, they got black.
So
masks.
I guess they sort of have it. I mean, I know, like, if you see the colored versions of the original comics, it's like they have red ones on. But I guess if you're looking at, like, in the inside art, they got black masks on, which I thought was kind of a cool. It gets to that a little bit later, but like I thought that was kind of cool that they start off with almost the same mask on.
It's also kind of like, you know, it's like, all right, it's kind of like when you see the 1960s Iron Man suit in Iron Man, like, oh, you guys were able to throw that in there. So, you know, not as much effort as that. But at the same time, it's a cool nod. Not a lot of people know about they all wore the same color at one point in time.
Yeah, and it's like, in a sense, I think about that, like, no other movie's done that, so I'm like, that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. And then he goes in there and he's leaning in at them. They look like they're asleep and they're shackled, but then something happens where I think they grab his wrist. He has a watch on there. They fling the watch over at a table. It flings a scalpel. One of them bumps the scalpel. The other catches the scalpel. They picks out the locks and they all do it. And Raphael is basically essentially like, where's our brother? Where's our brother? What'd you do with him? He's, I don't know. I'm not one of these guys. I was trying to just help you out. And then Leo calms him down. And they don't go into too much detail, but then they just say, all right, we just got to save our brother. You're going to help us get out of here.
Yeah, because it's like they kind of just sneak in there. And then there's like just a big old fat action scene or whatever where they go and bust Michelangelo out. You know, it's kind of an interesting one. It's like, oh, Michelangelo was captured and brought all the way to Michigan. That's a long fucking ways to go.
That is a long... Well,
I almost want to see that Turtles movie where, like, it's just the fucking turtles, like, on a road trip chasing down to get to Michelangelo.
Well, they had to catch... Michelangelo had to be the last one they caught because they were already in there, like, shackled up.
Oh, were the turtles all in there shackled up? I thought for some reason they were coming to save Michelangelo and he was the only one caught.
I mean, it sounded like it in the dialogue, but it said they had shackles on. They had to pick the shackles loose with, like, a scalpel or something like that.
Oh, maybe that is it. Well, there's so much writing in this script. This script has probably the most amount of writing I've ever seen in a script. It's got, like, details galore. Like, this guy was really hoping he was about... Either Applebaum or Nemec was really hoping they were going to direct this movie because they put that much detail into it.
Yeah, well, another thing about this script is it's just kind of like... I'm not trying to be a dick, but it just... I wonder if, like, when a director sees a script like this, it's like, motherfucker, let me do my job. All right? You give me the words, I'll do the hard shit.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it is really, like, I mean, like, I get, like, having, like, you want to have a little bit, like, okay, they have this cool action scene here, maybe he throws, you know, a couple of, you know, flying kicks, you know, and that. But like this one, like really like, no, shoot it like this. It is like in there exactly like it's a novel or something like that.
Maybe it's one of those things they want to write as much as possible, so that way when the thing comes out, oh, that's my idea. That's my idea for what they do use.
Maybe it's something.
I'm just guessing. I'm not trying to bring these guys down, but yeah,
it's not the worst thing. It just makes it for like you're just in for a lot more than a normal script. Let's just say that.
I had some shit I had to do today, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get up early and read this script. So we're recording this on a Sunday. It's nighttime now, but I got up around like 7:30 and just went to like a coffee shop, had some breakfast, and just read through this on my iPad. And by the time I was done, like I probably sat down like at 7:40 or because you know place isn't too far from where I live. I probably sat down and started reading this thing at 7:40. I was like done, like maybe because I took a quick break once or twice, but I was done by like 10. I was like, Jesus Christ, there's so much to fucking read just in descriptions right here.
I know, it's only 119 pages, which, you know, I mean, if that was a book, yeah, I could get that. But, like, yeah, for a script, you mostly don't think it's going to take that long. And I was like, yeah, that was for me, too. I was like, holy crap. I was like, it's like, there was no short page in this entire script. Because, you know, when you always find those one page, you're like, oh, cool, there's just a couple of quick dialogue quips. Oh, and the page is done. Not in this one. No, God forbid you're ever going to, like, not get full detail, you know? And I'm not saying that's the worst thing. It's just, it is one of those things that kind of, like, throws you for a curveball there.
And once I was done reading, I texted you, like, hey, man, just want to let you know, in case you haven't started reading it yet, read it, because it's fucking long.
Yeah, it's going to take you some sweet time.
So...
But yeah, we get to that action scene or whatever. They bust pretty much Mikey out or whatnot. And they're kind of like, let's get out of here. They're like, they see like an 18-wheeler. And they're like, Casey, you know how to drive this? They're like, yeah, good. Well, you're fucking driving. We're fighting. And they're going down like this icy road, which really kind of reminds me like, take that scene in like the first of the new Turtles movies, where like they're kind of like busting out of like the lab and they're going down like the big icy road like during the daytime. But like that kind of at night. That's sort of how this feels.
Well, is it like at night or at like dusk, like early morning, kind of?
Well, I assume this was at night because that's where Casey Jones works. And then it's probably like if it's a movie, it'd be that thing where like it's at nighttime, but once they finally get to April's house, it'll become like, you know, morning. You know how that kind of always goes.
Yeah, movie time. We just jump 3 hours later or something.
But I picture this scene, this action scene happening at nighttime almost. And they're like, you know, driving this big old like 18-wheeler down the hill and so on. And there's like these Humvees and whatnot chasing after them. And then, you know, the turtles are of course jumping off and doing all kinds of insane stuff.
They had like a few funny bits in there, like they're getting shot at by the foot, and then like Leonardo, like because Michelangelo was the thing in the cage. I mean, you probably already figured that out, but Michelangelo's the thing in the cage. They're walking out. They have him on his back, like they're using him as a shield. He's like, "Oh my god, you guys are bulletproof!" And Michelangelo says, "Not like bullet resistant, because it still hurts like a bit, and then gets cut off from something." So.
Yeah, you know that this script they would want to be like, it hurts like a fucking bitch, Mr. fucking hockey player, son of a bitch. Sorry, he's on drugs.
Stupid
got a fucking
cunt. Like, I don't know. Like, do you think he'd be? Do you think we? This is a little too much. Like, well, we're gonna actually have him get hooked on opioids. Like, it's a Ninja Turtles movie. Like, yeah, I know, but you know,
he's the happy-go-lucky one too. Yeah, he's happy-go-lucky until he's on his fucking drugs. Then he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we want to stand out from the other ones, but
what
still,
if that's
I think
what the
there's
Ninja
other
Turtles
ways.
were like? Why are you guys breaking him out? Well, Mikey was on drugs. We got to get him off of it. He followed the Foot Clan.
We're breaking him out of rehab. He told us he hates it here. Deep down, Schrader's just trying to get him clean.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. But no, we're getting him away.
They're the most dedicated groups. They're the most dedicated AA group ever.
So, like, you know, yeah, they just go with this big fat action scene. As I said, it kind of like, it seems like the one that's in the movie, but probably more intense because it's in a script, so, you know, you can write more stuff in there that would cost more money that you're not going to do in real life.
So, and there's even a part where they're chasing them, like, over a frozen river.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they just barely manage to get away. And the car ends up crashing, and, you know, Schrader gets there and gets to the car and sees that, like, oh wait, this thing has a they took the whatchamacallit, the like communicator out of the car. I wonder what for. And then it cuts to the Turtles and Casey getting into a barn, and trying to just figure out where to go from there. And that's where they drop some of the exposition on Casey and who they are.
They're like, yo, Casey, let's just get this out of the way because it's a Turtles movie.
Sorry, the audio went out again, but it sounded like it was probably funny.
Oh, I didn't say anything too much. I just said, like, there's a part where it's like, okay, Casey, here's the thing. Mutagen, you know, we live in the sewer, turned into turtles, we're raised by a rat. Yeah, fucking rat, don't question it. You know what I mean?
It also did that whole thing. It did that whole thing where a lot of movies are doing at the time, where they say the concept of something older, and then like the audience member or the one of the characters like, that sounds kind of ridiculous. Like, yeah, I know, but you know, just go with it. It's the thing where they're trying to like kind of pander to the people who aren't into the shit, but they're kind of stuck in the theater anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Which that was always so annoying. I'm kind of glad. I mean, you still see that a little bit nowadays, but I'm kind of glad that's kind of petering out a bit because that was just. There was always that joke. I always think like the worst offender of it all. I know we're getting off topic here, but was the
Lone Ranger.
Yeah, the Lone Ranger one where he's like, "Hi ho, Silver," and then Johnny Depp's like, "Never do that, never again." And it's just like, no, that's his fucking catchphrase. That's like the main reason that like everybody who's into the Lone Ranger's fucking. It's like that just seems so stupid to like hate on it. It's almost like if like the Turtles did Cowabunga and like you know Splinter was just there like that's fucking gay. Don't do that ever again. You know, it's like.
Well, it's also going back to Lone Ranger for a second. Like, people kept on saying like, "What's with the mask?" I'm like, "You guys are fucking cowboys robbing shit. That's why you have a fucking mask."
Just I don't know. It's so dumb when you have to do that. But this one's just kind of like there, and then they're sort of like, you know, Casey's like, "Yo, I gotta tell you guys apart," and I was just like, "Whoa, what?" You can't tell apart. He's like, yeah, you guys are like four like Asian guys. They're like, whoa, it's because the martial arts thing? He's like, yeah, I can't fucking tell you apart. Sorry, exactly. I'm from Michigan. Not
Everyone's
New York.
White and more white.
Yeah. So here, put these different colors on so I can see you in the fucking dark too.
And that's where even Raphael's just like, I look like a toy now. It's like, okay, yeah, you're referencing more of that kind of shit. And then there's also another part where...
I like the part where like Casey's like, okay, well, I guess it's time for me to leave. And Raphael's like, no. You ain't fucking going anywhere. You're drafted in a fucking war now, boy. What, you think you're just gonna be able to get away now? You're gonna live a fucking normal life? No more. You bet fucking Turtles. You fought the Foot Clan. You're going with us now. Now grab a fucking weapon and hurry up and get back in the truck.
He's just like, what? Like, you're part of this now.
You got nothing. If I got a mother, not anymore. She's fucking dead to you now.
We're your new family, kid. It's all wide-eyed and shit.
Put on the fucking turtle costume. What? Put the fucking turtle costume on now.
Fucking do it!
Why do you guys just have these turtle costumes here? Because sometimes there's always a kid that's got to get drafted and you're the fucking kid. But I'm like a year older than you. Look at us. I'm 6'6". You think you're going to call me a year older? Fuck you.
Even though they're called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mikey's the only one that ever comes off as a teenager to me. They always come across like they're in their 20s to me. Like early 20s.
Well, I think especially because like in the newer ones, they make them so large. And this one like is kind of like the original one where they make them like 6'6", like these like hunking like monsters where it's like, you know, you watch them like in the original cartoon or even in the comics and they're like 4 foot tall or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they're all standing up to like April's like tits pretty much.
Yeah, or like in like that makes sense. The cartoon they came across as kids, but even like the animated movie, the one that went to theaters, number 4, that one they don't come across as like kids to me. They come across as people in their early 20s. That makes sense. Maybe that one they actually aged.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that because that one feels like that. You know, they're kind of there, which is kind of interesting because like, even like April and Casey, like they always used to come across to me like they're maybe like 25, maybe a little bit older than that even. Like late 20s, you know. So this one that they're kind of younger, but I almost think that's not really a bad thing in this one. That both April and like Casey are like 18, just to kind of match the Turtles' age. I'm like, that's like one of those weird ones where probably in any other story that'd be kind of dumb. It's like, oh, they made them all like fucking kids. It's like, in this one, it's like, yeah, it's not too bad.
They have a little bit more to relate to in this aspect, but I do think it's kind of I do like the quick little line they say that they're named after the different Renaissance painters. He's like, that seems a little pretentious, and Raphael says, coming from the guy named after a Grateful Dead song.
Yeah, I like that line a lot too. I thought that was pretty funny. He's like, whoa, you space aliens listen to our music? It's like, whoa, bro, we're from your fucking planet. Don't you dare fucking call me a space alien.
I like how quickly...
Do I look like I got a fucking green card, do you? It's like, Raph, calm down.
Do I look like Marvin the fucking Martian? Go on, call me Marvin. Call me Marvin. Right, Raph. All right, chill.
Just starts fucking punching the fucking ground right next to him. Come on, say it! Say it, you fucking hockey player! Huh? That's what I fucking thought. Now put the fucking turtle costume on.
It's like there's 5 minutes of Raphael just yelling at this kid, just looming over him. This is gonna be interesting to shoot. A guy in a green suit, like in a green mocap suit, on stilts, yelling down at this kid.
Exactly. So as they bully him, they're like, how the fuck do we get back to New York? Casey?
Well, there's the whole part. Well, before that even happens, I thought it was like they did that whole thing. And once again, this isn't me trying to beat the script up, because I did like the script. It wasn't perfect, but I liked it. I liked it probably more than other scripts you read on here. They actually do that whole thing of like they just can't have their weapons. They do that whole thing of like, well, let's have a makeshift version of their weapons. So they go and they do like they take different things from this farm and just basically craft out.
They just tear this guy's barn up.
Yeah, they basically just make like makeshift size, makeshift sword, and it's not like it's I don't know. Maybe if they look cool, we I guess we'll never know what they're gonna look like. But it's one of those things like it doesn't really kill it for me. It doesn't bother me so much, but that definitely seems like this thing of the time where just like they couldn't just have the weapons. We gotta explain how they get the weapons, like, or they just have them because they're the Ninja Turtles. I never really cared to know, you know.
I mean, I did say when I kind of was reading this one, like when I first sort of got across, is like I kind of found that like they maybe lost their weapons, maybe in that first incident right beforehand, and because then it's like, you know, Splinter. You remember when Splinter sent us to like that concentration camp and we had to break free and make our own weapons?
He just says that like, "Oh, we got that exposition out of the way."
Well, now we gotta tear this guy's barn up right now and fucking, you know, make our makeshift ones, which actually sounds kind of cool, like, because you almost just kind of picture like, you know, you think about like I always think about like
more
with,
resourceful
with like Raphael's size, you know, he's losing those left and right. You know what I mean? He's always throwing them at somebody or dropping them or something like that. You know, it's not as easy to hold on to as like, you know, almost like Leonardo's weapons. Or I always feel like even Donatello, like he's got that side, and it's always getting broken here and there. So you know he's got to kind of make one on the fly sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess Donatello's easy. Just find like, oh, that's a bamboo tree. Snap. Cool.
Yeah,
we're good.
That's a shovel. Snap.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Oh, it's a broom. Cool. Or
there's an old man's walking cane. Snap.
Hey!
Ninja Turtles.
Shut the fuck up, old man! Like, Raph, it's fine.
Right.
No one talks to my brother that way! I don't want to die! You're gonna fucking die, old man, if you tell anybody what you fucking seen here today. Like, alright. Like, I feel like Raph might be like one day from being like, Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver.
Yeah, well, like, really, Raph is really like the story of like, you just need one bad day.
He's like the thing Joker is waiting on.
Yeah, exactly. Just to turn into a super villain, you know what I mean? Because really, here's the thing. I always feel like almost if Raph, like if all three of his brothers got killed, like in some horrific event, he could go super villain.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. This does do the thing. We'll jump in a little bit ahead here. This does do the thing where it doesn't, because a lot of times Raph gets angry. He's, I'm doing this myself because you guys always fuck it up. And then he gets caught. That doesn't happen in this, because I noticed that happen. Either he does it or he gets so mad someone else tries to stop him, and then they thus then get caught, you know? So I think this movie did a good job of not trying to pull that card, and they're together throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, I agree too, because that happens kind of a little too often where he's like, go down my own, then he always fucks up somehow, you know? And
he fucks up, and either he gets caught or someone else gets caught trying to save him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost kind of nice. Like I just want angry Raphael, but I also want him to be brotherly love too. Like almost like, I love my fucking brothers. I love them so fucking much. Don't you fucking dare take that away from me. Like I think that's how they should make it. Instead of him fighting with his brothers, be like, no, I fucking love them.
Or it's like, get over here, Mikey. I need to punch the love into you.
Take it like a champ, Mikey, not like a bitch. Don't be like Donatello now.
Don't be a fucking nerd.
Don't be a fucking nerd, but I fucking love that nerd. Believe me, I fucking love that. Once he showed me that fucking app that I could use at Pizza Hut, it was the greatest thing fucking ever. I would have never figured that out on my own. I was standing in line like a fucking chump.
Wearing that fucking fedora and trench coat.
And that
thing doesn't
rubber
even
fucking mask.
fit.
People looked at me like I was a serial killer.
Like I was sneaking into an X-rated movie. That thing did smell like a turtle's asshole. Maybe because you only had one, we all had to share it. We'd always have to take it out on a hot, sweaty day.
Yeah, you had turtle sweat. Oh, shit. Especially after you've been eating a bunch of fucking, cheese crust stuffed pizzas. Oh my god.
I don't want to get too off topic, but in all the Ninja Turtle movies that have come out, there has had to be, I know there's been like McDonald's or Happy Meal toys or whatever. There's had to be some kind of pizza tie-in, like a pizza chain, like Round Table or Domino's, right?
I want to say Domino's had one. Somebody had a chain when the 2000 whatever, I guess the Michael Bay one. Is that 2014? Is that how long ago that movie came out by now?
Was it Papa John's or something? Was that one Papa John's?
Maybe, but there was a pizza tie with that one. I remember. I want to say with Turtles like '89. I want to say it was Pizza
Domino's?
Hut or Domino's.
Pizza Hut or Domino's, yeah.
It was one or the other for that one, and same with number 2. I had one or the other, but yeah, it's kind of the animated one. I don't remember if there was one for that.
No, there was. I'm just thinking like not even just in the movie, but just like for like go down to Round Table and get yourself the Ninja Turtle special thing, whatever.
The only thing about Round Tables, I think it only really exists on the West Coast because it's like from San Jose area. So I feel people in New York be like, "Fucking Round Table was fucking California pizza moving in on our stuff." I see how it fucking is.
Real talk. I'd rather have Round Table than California Pizza Kitchen any day of the week.
No, I just talk about because Round Table is California pizza.
Oh, I know. I'm just talking about local
okay.
pizza chain. I'm not sure if California Pizza Kitchen's even on the East Coast either. Maybe it is, but
yeah, I was gonna say because I don't know. I've always been very like I don't know. I've had fucking East Coast pizza. I don't know. I like California pizza more. Just saying. I don't know why I'm saying it in a fucking Eastern accent, but
just I'm gonna say this shit. Chicago deep dish. I don't even dislike it or I don't even hate it, but part of me kind of wants to hate it more because you get people like deep dish is the only way to eat pizza. Fuck you. No, it's not. It's like, but you have to cut it. The whole thing just spills fucking everywhere. I don't know. Like, oh, you haven't had Vito's down on 5th Street or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But at the same time, though, there's some of that shit like, Chicago deep dish is just like, I think it's fucking overrated.
Well, I don't know what it is.
I'd be able to hold it without having spill fucking everywhere.
It's like, do West Coast people ever like get all angry about like where they're fucking like? I don't know what it is. It always seems like people from like the East are always like, "Oh, this fucking sucks. This thing here." Like whether it's a Philly cheesesteak or a pizza or something like that. Like maybe if we go, I don't know. I just don't remember anybody like out in the fucking like East Coast area be like, "Oh, this isn't the same as fucking Old Tommy's fucking hamburger stand in fucking Santa Cruz or something." You know what I mean? Like I just don't feel. You just don't hear it the other way around.
Yeah,
I guess unless it's Mexican food. That's the only time you do hear it. Because you do hear people go like, "Oh, Mexican food's not the same, up north or out east or whatever."
Well, to be fair, I do like more East Coast rap than I do West Coast rap, so,
I just feel there's choices in life, damn it. You know what?
Yeah.
Respect those goddamn choices. Be glad we can have a California pizza or a New York pizza or a Chicago deep dish pizza that you could dip your balls into if you feel like it because it's America, goddamn it.
Just to stay warm. Yeah.
Just to stay warm when you're out on a fucking ice lake, driving a fucking 18-wheeler across it. You never know.
There's a pizza scene in here because what ends up happening as it goes on is he's just like, well, we got to get there. How are we going to get there? And then he's just like, you got to get us a fucking ride, So like, from out of that.
Up to you fucking Casey. You're a fucking boy. You going to get us a ride, huh?
You want to live? And then he goes over to April O'Neil's house and she's packing up her U-Haul, like she said. And then she's like, April, the poor boy's in the lawn again.
Please get him off. He's dirtying our lawn with his shoes. He's probably been walking in shit all night.
It's like, Dad, will you just give us a minute? She's like, all right, but I want that poor boy gone by the time I get out. And they have that whole thing where he's talking to her, and he's just like, I guess I will move with you to New York. Like, you will? And they have the whole thing as he's talking, he's looking behind her, and the turtles are sneaking. She looks. They all go into their shells behind, like, a bush or whatever, and they creep into the U-Haul in a very, like, dun, 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 like,
like it really reminds me like a Transformers like scene. You know what I mean from like the movies.
To be fair, though,
fucking Bumblebee fucking sneaking around, like...
To be fair, I think he'd probably pull it off with the Turtles more than Transformers, just because... Turtles has always been a little bit more, like, comedy-focused. Yeah, just not just the comics, but just as a medium itself, it's had more of an emphasis on comedy, where for some reason, the other stuff in Transformers never really had emphasis on comedy, except the big movies.
That's true, because literally the cartoon show was very serious, and then all of a sudden it had this comedy in it. But there's a part where I can't remember, I think there's a part where, like, Raphael literally says in the script, like, do you want me to take out the father figure? Like, no, Raph, no.
I can fucking kill him. Like, yeah, just Raph, that's how he acts. He just
I can silently take him out right here and now. We don't have to ever see him fucking again.
He's staring at him all wide-eyed, but he's not smiling. I'll do it. Just give me the word.
Well, that's just that thing. It's just like, come on, April. Like, let's get out of here. Let's go. I'll go to college with you too. Fuck it, I'll learn something. Shit. You know what I mean? They probably got one of those things that poor people can get where they just, like, sends them for free there. You know, I don't make anything. I mean, my mother's a nurse, but my father's dead, so I could just write him down. It's a zero income. I know how to work the system.
I could also force an accent and maybe get, like, I don't know, like, some, like, oh, you know, this poor foreign child, something like that.
Yeah, because at first, like, you know, April, it's, you know, I could leave the Michigan area. What the hey you do? You know what I mean? I guess I don't got to be a hockey player here.
Yeah, and during all this, they, of course, get across that, you know, April, like, Mikey has a thing for April, and as they're driving down the road...
Yo, you're not fucking anymore, it's okay, right?
Well, Raph has a quick little... Craig has a... Go ahead.
Oh, you just say what you're going to say.
Well, no, what you were saying was already funny right there. He's just like, you're not fucking her, right? And then, like Raphael was more or less like, don't worry, she's not in the Turtles. She's in the baboons, clearly, like, looking over at Casey.
I know, it's kind of weird, with, like, because I remember, like, even, like, the newer movies, they had that where Mikey had, like, the hots for April. I'm like, that's fucking weird. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It's, like, interspecies fucking stuff going on. Like, he's like, shit, I've been
interspecies erotica.
Literally, I've been kept up in, like, a fucking sewer my entire life with my brothers, and all we had for entertainment was a fucking TV set. I don't know why my
maybe all they had was, like, the only access to porn he had was, like, a VHS of some redhead.
Yeah, they just, it's like, oh my god, she exists.
Yeah. Well, there's more than one with red hair. Like, well, that's the only one I know.
Believe me, when you've been in the sewer your whole life, bro.
You don't get picky.
Yeah. But, so, like, they sneak off. They're driving back to New York from, you know, Michigan, and April's U-Haul. She doesn't think it's that weird that Casey just shows up at, like, 6:30 in the fucking morning and just says, like, I'm fucking ready, let's do it. Let's go. And now...
Yeah, I probably look all sweaty and a little bloody from being into a shootout with some, like, military operatives.
Yeah, and I know it's like your dad's just looking at me like I'm a fucking idiot, which is probably right. But let's just get out of here right now. You know what? I'll fucking moon him on my way out. Fuck it, let's do it. And
then when they end up going out there, they end up
he's like, wait a second, though, I gotta tell Mom.
Mom, I'm moving to the city with some turtles. What? I mean, April. Okay, cool.
Oh, good. So, you know, I thought you were just gonna be a loser like your father. Just, you know, that was it. But you're going to the city. Perfect. Good. Get out of here, honey. Do your thing. Make mistakes. It's who you are. What? I love you. Thanks for the encouragement, Mom. Look, I got the accent and everything. I'm doing it.
I'm practicing.
I'm gonna be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Don't you forget it.
Oh, he's gonna ruin his life, but at least he's gonna try doing something.
She's like that mother who's just really like, you know, make all the mistakes, honey. It's okay. You always will have Mother's house to come back to.
Until I'm dead, and this place is repossessed by the bank.
And then you're just in the government's hands. It's okay. I trust the government. I'm a Democrat. You know what I mean? They'll take good care of you.
Have you had the cheese? It's amazing.
Get yourself some government cheese. You know what I mean? We'll get yourself, you know, a government house. You know, there's nothing to worry about, little Casey. Go on. Spread your wings.
And then we forgot to mention, while they're at the barn, they actually talked to, they managed to get the radio that they stole from the Humvee. They managed to hotwire that and communicate with Splinter. And you just hear him over the radio like, boys, get back here. Shit's going down. Like, all right, Splinter, We're on our way.
Should be like most calls like, son, where you at? It's 4:30 in the fucking morning. What are you doing out there? You guys drinking?
You're getting pizza again, aren't you? Did Raphael strangle a homeless person again?
They are people, whether you like it or not. I know that some people frown on it, but you can't just freely go out and kill them in the streets.
I know, Raph. I know you said he was giving you the hairy eye, whatever that means, but...
Just like that one where he's just like a father, just like, they're calling late at night. I know if the 4 of you out, no good is bound to be happening.
Just at least want Raphael to stay. You know what? If we were U.S. citizens, I'd look into getting you guys, like, getting Raphael on some medication of some kind. You know what? I would say, like, maybe you should go knock over a liquor store, like a drugstore, to find the right medication. But I just think that's opening the door to more problems.
You know, yeah, exactly.
I feel like he's gonna treat that thing like a fucking candy shop.
So now they know they gotta really get back and so on. And then as they're driving back, they actually have this kind of... Well, there's a scene that's kind of funny where, like, Casey needs to pull over because, like, of course, the turtles are in the back fighting each other. You know, he's like... It
starts off with them being just kind of having casual conversations, and you find out... It's also another moment where they manage to get some exposition. But we were saying earlier, Schrader intercepted the conversation between Splinter and the turtles. So they triangulate where the call was coming from in the area and how far they'd be from there. One of those movie things. Mm-hmm. So, and then while the turtles are in the back of the U-Haul... Leonardo is hacking into using her iPad and her laptop, trying to figure out where trying out as much as they can about Project Ares or Pegasus or whatever it was. Ares. And then they have, there's just some funny conversations, and then, like, Raphael's just, like, laying on her couch, and Leo gives him shit about the way how he's laying on the couch or whatever, and...
I fucking lay on the couch over the will, like, goddamn well, please, Leo.
and then from there,
what?
Why they also had some like local.
What? My dick's on her couch. What's the fucking problem? It's just me and the brothers. We can do whatever we want.
Well, I want to say this. There's actually like, I can't find the exact line, or maybe here he is. Like, there's this part where they also do what I'm assuming is very local New York jokes, because I noticed that was always their thing in the comic, in the at least in the other movies and cartoon. Which was, what was it? Like, he says, they're saying something about the decorative, like, couch or whatever, and he says something like, maybe April will let you keep these as a housewarming present for your solo pad, Michelangelo says, shaking like a big fancy pillow. Then I'll tell us, have you checked Craigslist yet? Word is, Brownstone in Brooklyn just opened up a nice school district, good outdoor cafes, parks. You know, Raphael's like, what are you fucking calling me? You saying I'm fucking gay because I like coffee? Was that what you fucking saying?
Well, maybe I do fucking like coffee. Doesn't mean I'm fucking gay, huh? And if I was, is that a fucking problem? What the hell is the fucking argument?
It's 2012. We're open-minded now.
What, I got a gay friend? Yeah. I mean, I know I didn't tell you guys about it till right now, which sounds kind of gayer now that I mention it.
I was kind of embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's not me, it's just the times.
Yeah, well, I was embarrassed you guys would be like, oh, he's fucking gay now. He's fucking somebody in the butt. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to bring it up.
You're going to talk about me behind my back. I fucking know it.
So they're having this fucking fight in the back, and April's like, huh, that's weird. Did we just hit a road bump or something? Don't worry about it. Casey kind of goes on. And later on, it's just like, well, it's really starting to shake and so on. He's like, oh, pull over. I gotta piss.
Well, before they even do that, he turns on, like, the radio, and then, like, they have, like, I guess a montage kind of fight scene with, like, he turns on the radio, and Youngblood's, come on, people now, smile together with your brother. You know, they're playing that song.
I'm fucking gay!
Just like, and like Raphael and Raphael and Leonardo are fighting while that song's playing in the background. And yeah, they have the whole thing where he pulls over and he says like, can you guys fucking knock it off? And he apparently,
he's up there, he's just like slapping the turtles. you fucking mess this up for me. Would you fucking dare? You fucking turtle. He's like, oh dude, he's becoming Brooklyn overnight.
Raphael just looks at him like, no one but Master has ever slapped me and survived. That is your one pass. Just so you know, you got off easy. Do it again. Go on. Do it again.
Then Donatello's like, well, we're kind of hungry. So, if you'd feed the fucking turtles, maybe we wouldn't have this problem. He's like, okay, I'll go inside. I'll get you some... Look, there's a counter store pizza place. Here we go. Have some pizzas, you fucking assholes. And stuff. And then they're like, oh, counter store pizza. Oh, jeez. Could you get us some fucking round table or something? Like, there's no fucking round table. It's 4:30 in the fucking morning. Be grateful I got you something.
Shut the fuck up and eat.
It's like, yeah, shit. Boy, Casey is really getting full on Brooklyn. He's got a fucking attitude and everything. It was only seemed like 8 hours ago he was talking like he was almost from Canada.
Well, I'll be honest. This whole movie, it's just kind of, from other than the beginning, Casey is just kind of like a fuck up who's just kind of dragged along, and he just reacts like, oh, there's fighting turtles. That's weird. Oh, there's a fucking Bebop and a Rocksteady. Whatever the fuck that means. That's weird too.
Yeah, he does kind of just keep having that. Well, I guess once they get back to the U-Haul, then they start having this, like, action scene where, like, the fucking Foot Clan shows up, and they're, like, fighting and everything like that, and the, jumping from cars and shit. Like, you kind of like what you would expect, like, in the new movies, where they're just, like, flipping around and, pure, like, long cuts, because everything's in CG, so you can do that easily.
And that's where April sees the turtles, and each turtle has a quick little funny moment with her. Like, Donatello's like, I'm sorry for... Because, the Foot is coming in on them and like militarized motorcycles with rocket launchers and whatever, and the back of the U-Haul gets blown out, and they just get out of there in time, and they're on the flatbed of the truck, and eventually they end up basically hopping off the truck with April and Casey on their backs, going onto a train which is heading they're already in New Jersey by this point, heading towards New York. So. But before that happens, they each have a moment, like, they each have, like, a funny one-liner to April about Casey or something to that effect. Like, Leonardo says, like, oh, you have very great taste in books. Sorry they're all burnt or whatever, And then, apparently there's also a little parallel action scene, which I like this part. I thought this was cool. This also seems kind of like a proto-scene of what happened in the first one, which is when they go to the Turtles' lair, and they fight Splinter, but it's Bebop and Rocksteady going there.
Yeah, this scene right here, I think, is almost like the main takeaway I thought from this entire thing is like Splinter fighting Bebop and Rocksteady just sounds like such a cool scene, because it's like, okay, that probably happened at some point in like the TV show, but I can't like picture that at all anywhere in everything I've ever seen of like Ninja Turtles. So it's like just that idea is like, that sounds awesome in itself.
Yeah, so they have this whole scene with this long scene of just the turtles fighting off both, different Foot members, just generic Foot members, and Schrader. Schrader. And at some point, they all get split up into different groups because, they're in the subway system, so they're closer to home now. And at some point, what ends up happening is it's Raphael and Leonardo fighting Schrader. And he sees Raphael sees like blue blood. He's like, I'm staying to finish this fight. Get out of here! And he fights him a little bit longer. And then I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna get captured. They have to save him. But that doesn't happen. Instead, he actually sees like he slices part of his face, and he realizes like, oh shit, Schrader is some kind of mutant. He's an alien with like his skin has blades that retract and recede and all this and that. And then the turtles get back over to the hideout, and they're there seeing the last bits of the fight with Bebop and Rocksteady with Splinter.
And that Bebop and Rocksteady fight, like, that goes on for a while of Splinter. Like, they make it really kind of badass sounding almost, just kind of like totally tearing up the place and just using all kinds of weapons, and Splinter's pulling out all kinds of cool, like, secret hidden stuff he's got and so on. So it just sounds like it's totally awesome. But then, boom, turtles show up kind of like at the very last second where like Splinter's got no more energy left, and they like fucking kick Bebop and Rocksteady's ass, throw down like a smoke bomb, and then they're just like out of there.
And from there, they're trying to figure out what to do next. And that whole scene, like, I'll be honest, I was into reading all the action scenes, and that one was like, I'm not trying to be a dick, it's just after read a lot of action scenes, that they just like, all right. That was the last one where I was like really impressed, and the other action scenes, not that they're bad, but just after reading it all, that's when I get it. All right, they do a lot of backflips, but I also think just that combination, because that's just a combination, like you said, I'm sure it's happened, but I don't recall seeing it in anything, at least not recently, so I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said. I don't know what it is, like action. Like if you have too much action and like writing, it's just after a while, it's just like it's too much. It's that kind of thing where it's like I know this will look amazing in live action or animation, but it's just that kind of because even comic books themselves too. Like if you get a comic book where it's just like a little too much action, it's almost kind of like okay, I get it. You know what I mean? You probably could solve this of a few less pages and go back to like a story. You know what I mean? It's just even still, but
Well, then there's the whole scene of like, while that's going on, April pulls out her phone and she says, "This is April O'Neil of CBS News. I'm recording this in case of my death so people know." And that she drops her phone in the middle of the shit and they all get out of there. And Bebop and Rocksteady find her phone. Like, oh, okay. Which that's the thing. I think now they've used that in movies. Like, okay, we got their phone, so we know everything about them if we can just, get past the password or face recognition. But at that time, that was still kind of like, oh, that's not something that's addressed a whole lot.
yeah, exactly. And I think that time period that would have been kind of like, oh, okay, so yeah, we got all our information, so on, boom, and we can show Schrader this, so we don't look like a bunch of fucking idiots that can't do anything.
Yeah, because there's a part where they're kind of like they show a little bit more of Bebop and Rocksteady's dynamic as they're pacing back and forth, talking, saying like, you make the call. No, you make the call. He likes you more. No, your birthday, he gave you like dandelions. Remember that? He likes you way more.
Yeah, exactly. Like they kind of just have that argument, and then so like once they find that phone, they're like, oh shit, and then they start fighting over who's going to give it to him now, and so on.
And from there,
I do want to say this before we go any further. When they're in like the subway, I love how like when it first shows the subway, there's this part that like this almost just also explains like the time period too. There's like when they first jump on the subway and rattle it, there's these. It's like two Brooklyn, mumblecore like hipsters are standing there. It's just like it's just one of those ones like when you hear that, it's like that right there. It's like that's one of those ones like in 10 years from now, somebody be like, the fuck is that?
It's like when you watch like Superman. The motion picture, and he's like, "Yo, Jack, that's a bad outfit."
Mm-hmm. It's like you just got that fly guy coming by. the old jive talking. It's just like that's why I feel like the mumblecore guys, just like there's like that's always kind of like like in like the late 80s and early 90s there'd be like those like two white guys who were just pretty much like Beastie Boying it up. That in 2012 the mumblecore guys was like pretty much what those two characters were in the future.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So, yeah, sometimes it's one of those things you see it, and then you just kind of like roll your eyes about it. But then there comes another point where it's so long. Like, actually, I'm glad that's there because it's kind of a little capsule. Mm-hmm. But I guess it depends on what kind of vibe you want for your movie.
And I feel Turtles is always one of the few ones where like it's okay to sort of have like the almost like the pop culture references, because I feel like that's kind of like a part of Ninja Turtles where it always takes me out of things like it takes me out when I'm reading like Marvel or DC when they do that kind of stuff. But in Ninja Turtles you kind of expect it because it's like here's a bunch of guys that like have nothing better to do but watch a bunch of TV when they're not training.
Yeah, and plus they had the whole thing with for a while they had the whole thing where they were secret to the world, so all they had was just kind of like TV was their view into the world aside from like the streets of New York where they would fight every so often.
Mm-hmm.
Or their only human interaction, I guess you'd say, other than punching someone in the face. So then they get the idea of like, okay, well, let's go over to the news station and try to upload this information on what Project Pegasus is and try to figure out. I remember what their what their ultimate plan is together, because they made it seem like April was doing really good, but then once they get there, they find out she's just the intern girl who just gets people their coffee.
Yeah. And then it's almost kind of like one of those ones where it's like, well, you are 18 and you just started college like literally yesterday, so I guess that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but at the same time, they have that whole thing like that's how they play it off. Like, oh, I thought you already... I mean, it makes total sense when you say it like that, but...
Because that's the case, like, dude, you're a fuck-up too. Whoa.
We're both fuck-ups. That's why we're meant to be together. And I thought this was, because like I said, Casey, after he helps Turtles out the first time, doesn't really have a whole lot to do, but I thought this part was funny. He comes across, like, some news anchor there, and he says, like, whoa, you're the guy that comes on after reruns of Raymond.
Yeah. And the guy's just like, oh, well, I guess that's who I am. April, who are you again? Oh, you're actually the only lady that got my fucking coffee right with the right sugar color. That you're a keeper then, I have to keep.
Perhaps you will survive. What? Nothing.
Yes,
Just
yes.
keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, what are you doing Thursday night for dinner?
This become a Me Too thing, like, years later.
You want to stay here at CBS, don't you?
You gotta make sure you can cut the mustard, if you know what I'm saying.
And then, who's this? Is this your retarded brother you have with you? Well, we used to date. You used to
"Don't
date your
fuck
brother. No, he's not my brother. Oh, okay. For a second
A bunch
there.
of heathens over there in Michigan fucking each other's brothers and sisters, huh? That's how you guys do it there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Must be all those hits he took to the head playing hockey.
How'd you know I played hockey? You just look fucking retarded, that's all. Oh, hey. But, okay, Thursday night, let's keep the brother out of it, or whatever you call him, and, yeah, just that's what it'll be. I'll give you the details later from my secretary. It's like one of those guys like...
Is that a single braid in his fucking hair? Like, oh, I still got that? Shit. Raphael's like, I was gonna say something, but I just wanted to fuck with him. Nobody fucking tell him. He looks so fucking stupid.
A single fucking braid.
I don't think he knows it's even there.
But yeah, so as they're in here, they finally go, after that, they go to kind of like, I don't know, Donatello finds like a computer or something like that, and that's how he learns more about fucking Project Ares or what have you. Can't remember exactly how that part all went down. That felt like that scene for some reason felt like 1980s, where it's like the only way we're gonna figure this out is to find the computer that's located in that building up there.
Which I don't remember if it was like finding something out or if it was something to the effect of like trying to I thought initially they were going there to try and like put some info out there. Maybe it was just going out there to get some information. I don't remember what it was exactly.
Maybe that's what it was. Well, whatever. Like Schrader and stuff. Finally, they all know that they're there. So like they show up in there and they're like asking people around, like, "Have you seen this girl?" Like going fucking T1000.
Terminator 2 thing.
And
then they end up he ends up, it's one of those simple things of like, they're looking around for him, they're just staying one room ahead of him the whole time. Turtles are sneaking around doing ninja shit, like blowing darts inside of people's necks, and Raph is like, wants to snap people's necks so badly, and no, he does. It's like, I imagine he just sees like a vulnerable neck that's so easily snapped, and he's just like shifting in place like you do like with a dog holding a treat, like just something like that, like just kind of like lightly biting his lower lip, like
Exactly. He
just wants to kill so badly.
It's just, you just can't. Oh, there's also that scene, I forgot, when they're like, okay, once they escape, before they go to the newsroom, there's that part where like Splinter's like, oh yeah, by the way, Schrader, wherever, oh yeah, that's that fuck from Dimension X. Yeah, apparently there's this other section of the the planet that merges with ours. It's kind of like, okay, remember when you guys were watching Super Mario Brothers? There was the two worlds. Yeah, that's kind of what it's like,
Mikey remembers. I know Mikey remembers.
It's one of his top 10 favorite movies. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on right now. We're having literally a Super Mario Brothers kind of world merging thing happen, and there's these balls out there, and so you're gonna learn more about this in a bit. Just go to the newsroom. You'll figure it out from there.
Now here's the thing, the ball thing, because they just say, okay, there's these 4 orbs that if you have them, that's when the worlds start to merge or whatever. This is kind of where I'm pretty sure this was like a first draft, just because it sounds kind of like they had all these things they really wanted to throw in there, and then they got to the last act, and they're like, oh shit, how are we gonna make sense of this? It won't make sense. It's fine though. We'll figure it out later. And because it does this kind of, I mean, it's already sci-fi, but it goes super crazy sci-fi in the last 20 minutes, that's a ballsy move. At the same time, though, it just seems kind of like, oh shit, you went there out of nowhere like that, Well,
because really, this is what happens. They're literally in the CBS newsroom, and all of a sudden, there's like an earthquake, and then they're like, oh no, that's the worlds kind of merging together, and then there's a flood because it breaks all the water and so on. But I think it's also a flood from it. It's kind of confusing when you read, but I feel like it's water coming from the pipes in the building, but it's also water coming from Dimension X at the same time, too. But what it reminded me of is there's that, in the very first season of Ninja Turtles, like the animated one, the original show, there's that one, I think it's like episode 1 or 2 even. It's, there's a part where they're in like the newsroom building or wherever building they are, and it floods out and everything like that, and they got to kind of escape. And that's what it sort of reminded me of, was that scene.
I don't really remember the original cartoon all that well, in all honesty. I mean, I watched a lot when I was a kid, but I really don't remember it that well. Most of the stuff I remember comes from the, old video games or the old movies or even the new movies. But I wouldn't mind checking out some of the newer shows. Like there's the CG one, which is supposed to be really good, and the 2006 one, which I hear is really good. But anyway, going back to this for a minute, though. That's where reading that, I was like, wait, did I miss something? I just scrolled back. This is like they jump downstairs and they realize there's alien foliage and waterfalls. I'm like, whoa, wait. Go, I think I missed something. Let me scroll back. Like, nope, I didn't miss anything. Okay, let's see where this goes.
It's just getting fucking weird. And then the turtles like swim out of this, and then next thing you know, they're like, whoa, man, we're in fucking Dimension X.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you find out the worlds are merging, and they find another turtle that looks a lot older than him, and he's covered in tattoos, and he just says Turtle Warrior. And like, whoa, man, what's going on? Oh, sit down. We got a lot of exposition to go out of. What's your name? Doesn't matter. I don't have a fucking name because we don't have time for a fucking name. Here's exposition. Here we go. And he essentially, this is where the whole turtles or aliens thing came in, and they have this whole like thing. The turtles were a prophecy, and they were sent over to our world at a young age and forced to train by Splinter. It's basically the Superman thing, more or less. And like Krang is like and Schrader is Zod, more or less.
Yeah, I will say this is kind of the one part in the script where it started to kind of like lose me in a bit. I wasn't kind of like interested. It still sounds interesting, but it's now I felt like you were so far off from Turtles all of a sudden. You know what I mean? That it's just kind of like, what? Oh, so there's this whole turtle world now in Dimension X, and that's where the turtles come from, and it has nothing to do with mutagens, and there's no mutation anymore, because that's kind of like, I feel like that's almost like saying that, like, at some point, like, the fucking X-Men, like, they go to, like, the other fucking dimension with fucking Spiral and what's
Mojo World?
Mojo World. Yeah, they go to the Mojo World and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, none of you guys are really, mutants. When you come over to this world, this is just how you're born. We just drop you off there as a kid when we don't want you anymore. It's, kind of like how people take a baby to like a fire station. Well, that's sort of what we do. It's just called Earth. You know what I mean? Like
fire station in the galaxy.
Like that would be kind of weird if it's like, oh, so mutants, they're not mutants. That's just made up. You know what I mean? That's kind of like a weird thing to kind of like take out of the equation. Is this thing that like they are? And then even this turtle's like, he's like, oh yeah, we fucking made that story up. Yeah, the secret of the ooze thing doesn't exist. Fucking bullshit.
It's funny thinking about it. Just like, yeah, really, when you think about it, in that case, both Superman, Turtles, that possible version of X-Men you just said, like, yeah, Earth is just like, the galaxy's biggest orphan basket.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just chuck your kid down there, you're good.
Because really,
Goku.
At the end of the day, when you got a fucking kid, you trust him with a firefighter more than anybody else, right? That's such a weird concept because you don't think about like, you think a firefighter wants a kid, like, it's like, shouldn't you drop it off at like, like Mother Teresa's or something like that?
Well, I'm just thinking about our friend Kyle. I'm like, I don't want him I don't know if I want him raising a kid.
Yeah, just sets the kid up on the desk, like what, like doesn't know what to do, like hands him a beer. Like, what's it gonna do? You know what I mean?
Like he has a card like attached to the cribs for us to find him a home. Like, I will do it later. Here, kid, have a beer.
Okay. Oh, there's a fire. Okay, you watch the place while we're gone. Don't try to piss on too much stuff. Okay, we're out of here. Comes back 12 hours later.
Hey, you didn't burn the place down. Right on.
Right on, dude. Best first day ever. High five, little buddy. Here, we brought you some pizza.
Let's watch Rocky 4.
Oh, you're literally like, a day old. You can't eat this pizza? Fuck. Oh, shit. We didn't think that one through.
Someone mama bird it into his mouth. Chew it and spit it in there.
Yeah. Be like a mother bird to him. It's the only
Don't
way.
make it weird. It's nature. No, it's weird because you're making it weird, all right? Just fucking do it.
But yeah, and the Ninja Turtles thing, it's like, once they kind of explain this, where it's like, there's this turtle world, and that's where Splinter came from, and all this stuff like that, and oh yeah, me and my 4 brothers have been guarding these balls, but don't think about the balls you're thinking of, it's different. These balls keep our worlds together, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm the ball master. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Raphael, he looks like a ball master. I ain't fucking gay, don't you fucking bring it up. Oh man, I'll beat the shit out of you right here. I don't give a fuck. I haven't killed anybody all day long. But don't think
he's gotta make his quota. Don't let it be you.
Did you hear this guy? He called me the ball fucking master. The fuck is that kind of shit? Huh? What's he watching? Who does he fucking know?
I'm on to you, motherfucker. I'm on to you.
So they learn all this kind of weird stuff, and then it's like they learn that, oh yeah, Krang's the overlord here, and he's been, ruling with his iron, brainy fist, and so, yeah, you gotta fucking stop him or else all hell to be paid. He's building a Technodrome, and if he gets all the balls together, he'll have enough power from both worlds and some shit like that. So, I'm fucking dying. You guys get out of here. Fill the prophecy.
So here's where, I'm not gonna lie, I was reading it, but it just kind of like, I'm like, I get it. I was reading it, but at the same time, it was like you're doing that thing where you're reading and you're just kind of like, yeah, a big battle happens. And essentially that's what happened. A big, long battle happens after all this exposition.
Well, there is a part where they do meet with, like, Splinter once where Michelangelo's like, Dad, you fucking lied to me. I thought I could trust you, but now I can't. What does it all mean anymore?
Michelangelo just kind of like, whatever. Donatello.
No, Michelangelo was the one who was like that, though. Or
Michelangelo was?
Yeah, because Michelangelo's like, I trusted you, father, man. What was I supposed to do? You lied to me. It's like, I lied to the youngest one. I feel so bad now, a Splinter. That's okay, Mikey. I did it for your own good. He's like, whatever, Dad. I don't give a fuck. I'm out of here. I'm going to the arcade.
Mikey, you could just like, Mikey, he's like that kid you could like give the most verbal abuse to. Like, it's okay. You can spend 30 minutes on my Xbox. And then he's over it.
Yeah, really, yeah, you could.
Playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater or whatever, or whatever variation of it is out by then.
Yeah, by this point it'd be Skate or Skate 2.
Yeah, fuck that.
Match it with 2012.
Yeah, fuck Skate. But, I want to go on a whole other tangent, but that was that point where I'm like, you ain't Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I don't care how much you try to be or how much you try to, like... I think as a friend was really trying to sell me on Skate, and I was like, no, I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't like Tony Hawk Pro, like, Underground 2 or the Bam Margera one, but no. Not
Even though it's got one of the best soundtracks in it, but for some reason the rest of it was all fucking weird.
You know what? Skate's probably fun. It's probably a fun game.
I bet you it's a great game, but like I felt the same way too. I just felt like, no, I chose my side. Fucking
once you have that friend once your friend has like that thing of like, no, dude, actually, this is before it went all comical, like, I really like Grand Theft Auto, but Saints Row is just so much more customizable. I'm like, never gonna play a Saints Row game. I'm never gonna know. Yeah, because you had to cross those lines. So no.
If you could have just said it was a good game, just like Grand Theft Auto, and you didn't have to put Grand Theft Auto down in the process, maybe I would have gave it a go. But once you put the other one down, I'm sorry, you lost me.
Yeah, that's how now it's one of those things like, oh, I'll totally check it out. But back then though, that was still like the petering off of the you just lost it for me. But anyway, yeah. So he seems like totally the kind of kid that like you'd yell at him, then you let him play your video game, Skate or whatever, and he'd be fine with it.
Exactly.
And I want to say like Donatello was the only one that was just being kind of like, all right, guys, Master probably had a reason, and then
you shut the fuck up, Donatello. Don't you fucking say that. Master fucking lied. He's not our father anymore. We had another father. It was a turtle father. This is so fucking weird. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah, man, bro, what you gonna do? Turtle father? Like, what up, Splinter?
I don't see no fucking shell. What I gotta do what the fuck you say?
You just said that we would just, our hair would grow in at some point. That we'd start looking like you once we got to being like adults.
You lying rat fuck.
He's a fucking rat. Let's tie him up right here and fucking hang him.
Crap, now's not the time.
Just
like shit, the rope I was gonna use is phasing in and out of existence.
Just like 17 years living, but just like this one moment fucking broke him. Like they just literally met this guy just fucking in another dimension. For all they know, this guy could be fucking lying to him and taking all the fucking heart.
And I could have, I wasn't entirely sure, but I was expecting maybe something like that to happen, like for him to come out and say like, or it to be dismissed or whatever, or to that guy to actually be working with Splinter or not Splinter, to be working with Schrader or something. But then it's just like, oh no, we're just dropping this on you. And like I said, this is an earlier version of the script, so I mean, I could see them possibly retconning or changing some of this or make it move a little smoother, because it all, you could say, oh, this part's a little cheesy, or they could have worked on Casey a little bit better, but it all moves at a pretty smooth, like, pace until you get to this part. Until you get to, wait, the worlds are phasing. That's weird. Like, where'd that come from? It just kind of just plopped in. It's like not like that last half of the movie. It's like the last 20 to maybe 30 minutes of this movie, and this thing would have been like 2 hours, it feels like.
Yeah, well, script-wise, it would have been 2 hours if it was that, but it's just like one of those ones, like, it's not that the pacing really goes off, it's just kind of just odd. It's just, I feel like it's just your turtle history kind of goes. You're like, wait, what? That's like, well, I guess that's like a really big change, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess there's that thing when you're doing an adaptation of something where you're like, okay, this thing has been made a lot. What do we do that makes it still feel like this thing, but at the same time adds a spoke to the wheel, or kind of changes it, still gives this version its own identity? And I guess there's that weird balancing act. And it's kind of like maybe one we could do one day. I'm not sure if the script's out there, but there's Superman Flyby, which was the J.J. Abrams Superman movie that never got made. And there it's revealed that Lex Luthor is a Kryptonian, and he's like a government agent looking for... he's a government agent looking for, obsessed with aliens and that kind of stuff. And then it's dropped in at the end that, oh, he's a Kryptonian. That's why he's so obsessed with him. And that right there, that's a little too weird. But at that point in time, it's been a while since anything Superman happened. And on top of that, I mean, other than Superman Returns, but I guess they're like, you know what? Let's mix it up. Let's try something ballsy. But yeah.
See, the only thing I think is weird about that, it's like, I don't like when they try to make things almost too close, like the world's so small. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's best that, like, no, Lex Luthor is, from Earth, Superman's from from Krypton, and it's just like, there's this ginormous gap between them, really, though, like, at the same time, they both were raised on, like, America, and it's that kind of thing where people go like, well, we need to do something a little bit different. It's like, yeah, you get a different villain in the movie, and that changes it up a bunch. That's the different thing you need to do. It's kind of like with Ninja Turtles. It was kind of like, what you really just need to do is just get not Shredder in it for a while and just use other people. And really, technically, using Krang is actually a pretty, that's a fresh choice anyways, because he wasn't in any of the other movies.
He just plopped in there at the very end.
It's almost that kind of thing where it's like, you almost could have done the thing where don't even have Shredder, just actually have Krang be in charge. And you could still even have Bebop and Rocksteady if you want, and so on. But...
like, I think if you just took away the whole, like, this is who you really are, this is your real past, and took out all the Shredder stuff. And, I mean, I thought it was cool, the idea of it being, like, originally it started off as Shredder. I mean, it could have been another version of Shredder. I think Shredder could have been done better, but...
not Schrader.
Like, let's just say what he's supposed to be, Schrader. I think the idea of him being like this, I guess you still could have done a thing like he was like a black ops guy who went rogue, but he had like all this history in martial arts and training and built the Foot Clan, and maybe the Foot Clan went separate and went rogue. That itself could still work, I think, as long as, they use swords and shit at some point. But I think that to some extent could work, and they kind of go off and separate from the government, become their own faction. That would be cool. And the idea that Bebop and Rocksteady are like failed government experiments, and they use them on their on as part of their army, I think that could work too. It's just I give the movie credit for trying to jam all this stuff in there, and even trying to be kind of ballsy with some of the choices. But there's some things like the whole alien turtle thing. I get you're trying to be different, but at the same time, it's a little like, I think that's for people who, I think they're kind of like, what, a lot of people don't really read the comics, and I don't think most people are really gonna care. That's probably their thought process.
Yeah, I think there's always that attitude. It's like, yeah, who's gonna care? And I know it's not as far as like a percentage wise, it's not the majority of people, but as far as like outspoken, it's gonna be the biggest majority is the people who do read the comics and watch the cartoon show and so on.
Yeah. So out of that, it was just, and I think after the response, once like Michael Bay, I think he probably read this script, and he's like, okay, yeah, we'll be working on the turtles. Yeah, they're gonna be from space and shit. Like, they're not from fucking space. Okay, burn this script.
Yeah, because that's kind of how it is. I think it's that thing where it's like, it almost reminds me of like that thing where it's like, because it's not that they're from space, they're from Dimension X, which is still kind of like in turtle lore is like a little bit more like, well, it's not really what they are, but I guess it kind of works, but still. But it's just enough that it's kind of like odd, and it's even like with Schrader and everything too, is that like, it's that kind of thing where it's like, it's still getting so far away from it just being like a ninja type thing. Because, you know what I mean? Like, literally, what's it say in the fucking title? It says ninja. You know what I mean? Like, let's just keep it like as ninja as possible and so on, and not mess with that, like you know, kind of way it is. I know that seems kind of old-fashioned nowadays, I guess, in the future we fucking live in, past the 2000s, maybe. I think it's like those ones like in the 80s and 90s, you could still have that sort of thing where it's just like, well, I think it's also that time period where like, well, kids, you know, you ask a class in like the 80s and you go, kids, what do you know about Japan? Is that where ninjas come from? Close enough.
Yeah.
You know, that's where my Sony Walkman came from. Yeah, that too, I guess. But yeah, isn't that where Jackie Chan comes from? Sort
Maybe.
of.
Next, you know,
but
it's a little bit of a swim, but
you know, shit, whatever. You're American kids. You're doing good. So
as good as you're probably gonna do. So let's just stop. Let's quit while we're ahead.
Where I think like once you're past the 2000s, now it's like you got like people out there be like, oh, you couldn't have a sword against guys with guns and machine guns and armies and things like that. That's fucking unrealistic. So it's like you have like that where it's just like, no, the guy with the sword, let's just keep it that way, you know. And I think like Schrader should always be kind of like Ra's al Ghul, where it's like he always kind of sort of lives in the past, that we still almost like way ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of how Ra's al Ghul always comes across. It's like you kind of look at him and it's like it does seem kind of like he's in the past, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, he's actually more futuristic than everybody else.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, I guess, going back to like when you want to change something and when you want to, what to change, what to keep the same. Like, example, like, all right, even though I don't think it should become part of the history of it, in Tim Burton's Batman, making Joker kill Batman's family, that's not a bad choice. I think that actually fits for that narrative and for that story, and I think that's also something that nobody saw coming. Like, fans and people who just didn't read the comics, like, oh, okay. Now, it did put that thought in a lot of people's head that, oh, Joker killed his family, right? Like, no, but just the movie he did. And that's, you know, I think that's something like, all right, this is, you probably won't do that again, but that was interesting. The idea of making Lex Luthor a secret agent as well as a Kryptonian who's obsessed with finding his brethren, that sounds a little weird. But I could guess, you know, there's finding that middle ground where it's, okay, it's different enough, but it's not too unrecognizable. And I think, you know, those are the two examples of it.
Yeah, and it's like those sometimes it's like for a one-off thing. It's kind of like the 1989 Batman movie. If you take that as just a one-off story, and that's just like a solid like Batman, that's just the entire Batman arc right there. Boop, 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 boop. It does kind of work. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's how some of these kind of things are. I do feel like the Ninja Turtles one is just a little bit too far.
A little. Well, it seems to follow kind of closely in some aspects, and then like does that thing at the end.
Yeah, it just does that at the end, you know, and then it's like, okay, then they go on this cool battle scene, you know, pretty much to end the movie, where it kind of pretty much, it's very similar to, it seems like the ending battle scene and out of the fucking shadows. I almost said out of the shells. That's the music album.
Well, they also have they like.
Which I will say, like,
Dimension X and New York are flickering both in and out of existence around each other. Like, so you'll have some crazy alien foliage wrapped around like a building, and then it just goes away back and forth.
Which I will say, because they have these metal balls coming together and the worlds coming together. Like, I know it's 2012; it's a little bit late for this, but they really need to have Power Man's 5000's fucking worlds collide fucking as this fight scene's going on between like the Turtles and Krang, and then they also got Casey Jones is fighting Shredder and everything's like that, or whatever the heck he's doing.
Like, this would have been 2012, so you could have the Skrillex remix of it.
Oh, I guess you could have, but because I feel like I know that's like 12 years off of like being able to kind of have that song going, but it's like, oh my gosh, is that the perfect time period for it? You know, or the perfect like fight scene for it. It's that weird thing where in 2012 that song wouldn't have worked because that song wasn't old enough yet. But if you made this movie like with that kind of scene in 2020, it would work because the song is now classic.
I don't know if I consider the song classic,
but I mean, like it's old. That's what I mean. It's
old.
Old enough now. Well, I love that song. I don't fucking care. I love Power Man 5000. But like, it's one of those ones like it's old enough because it's that weird thing where like when you're only at like that 10-year mark, you're at that weird point where it's like, oh, it's almost like not cool anymore. That's like the last generation. Fuck those guys. And so on like that. But then once it gets far enough along, then it's almost that like, oh no, man, that's really cool. That's when things were done, you know, this way and that way. Man, that if I would have lived in that time period, everything would have been different. You know what fucking kids say and so on.
I guess I'm waiting on that movie that comes out that, I guess you could still say movies are made with that kind of mindset, but I'm wondering if we'll be getting that kind of like Hot Fuzz style reactionary movie that kind of pulls back from those early 2000s action movies that has a lot of industrial rock in it.
Yeah, exactly. Because that
like it's actually it's still a really good movie, but it's almost being maybe whether it be being satirical or making a comment on it, you know.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, it almost has like this like they get involved in this like XXX like style story, but like they're just kind of like, wait a second, we're just these regular dudes. You know what I mean? Doesn't this seem fucking weird to you that like everything seems like totally insane and we're at this like Rammstein concert and everything? Like what's going on?
They haven't actually released any footage of it, but apparently Taika Waititi is making a Ryan Reynolds movie about a guy who he's an NPC in a video game and he doesn't find it weird that all this crazy action and crazy shit is happening and like around him. Like, oh, okay, whatever. But then he's like, oh wait, I could actually become kind of like a player character too. So I'm like, I'm curious to see what that's going to be. That's just the concept, and they had like an interview of it.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it sounds interesting. It's like that's definitely like kind of reminds me of like that sort of like the now generation kind of thing where it's everything's like so like isn't that fucking weird? Where I feel like 90s kids just like accepted things like that, and then it's like you see like 2000s and up kids and it's just like, why are you guys questioning all this stuff? You know what I mean? Like it just happens. Like stop questioning everything.
Well, I mean, it sounds like kind of like given the action and kind of thing that comes to mind, it sounds like the kind of action you would see probably in like a XXX style movie or something like that, because that was one of those, or like The One maybe. Mm-hmm. Who knows? There's no trailer for it yet, but that was just like a thing. Like, okay, I'm kind of curious about that, you know. So.
Yeah, no, definitely sounds interesting. But
I just think it's kind of sounds kind of funny, just the idea of just like, like people are doing like backflips and all this crazy shooting. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to my job as an accountant. Not a big deal.
yeah, exactly. But going back to that Turtles, I also like part two. Is like, you know, that one like fucking warrior turtle or whatever the heck he was. He tells him, he's like, well, the way you got to fix everything too is like once you defeat Krang, and they do defeat Krang, you got to take the balls back, and it like it realigns everything. Which almost just I don't know what it is. Like that sounds like Sonic Adventure all of a sudden. Like
yeah,
you got to get the fucking Emerald Crystals, you know, and fucking get help Knuckles out.
Well, then all right, it's like. Basically, they have a fight with Krang. Like, you know, it's one of those things like, oh, this turtle is over here fighting Bebop. This turtle is over here fighting Schrader. And Leonardo is up there fighting Krang. And then all together, once they're all done doing that, they all fight Krang together. And they essentially, more or less, his body weight is too heavy for his legs. So they just take out his legs, and then he falls over, and then they're able to beat him that way. And Krang even has one of these moments where he says, like, you look just like your father did before I killed him 17 years ago. It's like, oh, okay, so we're really trying to get personal here. And then...
And that was another part, too, where I was like, that's still, like, I don't know, when they try to bring things, like, too close together, I think that's always kind of weird. Like, you know what? I mean, that works every once in a while, like me in Star Wars, you know what I mean? That works as, like, Luke, I'm your father, like, that kind of thing. But I think lots of times it's like, you know what? Like we don't gotta be like our paths could only cross today. You know what I mean? They don't have to have been like predestined. You know, I think that kind of stuff kind of gets a little old to me. It's like, you know what? We live in a huge world. We don't live like it makes everything feel like it happened in like a fucking neighborhood block. You know what I mean? It's like I don't. That's like that's how I feel about that Lex Luthor thing. Like. That makes it feel like it's way too close. Like, shit, why don't you just have Lex Luthor fucking growing up in fucking Smallville, too, and fucking sleeping in the same bed with, like, fucking Superman, like, they're fucking, like, you know what I mean? Practically, like, brothers. Like, you know, once you start getting that...
Oh, Smallville.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's just, like, it's too, like, I feel like that's just too close. It's like, you know what? Maybe, like, they only crossed paths, like, once they were fucking older, and then that's when shit went down. You know what? They don't have to have all this history.
Mm-hmm. And in this, they have that whole thing where they stop him, and then the military, by that point, there's this guy that Schrader was asking military authorization for earlier, and that guy, he's like, oh, it turns out that guy's good. And he comes in, he calls in some, like, jets to take down the Technodrome and has to leave. And from there, you know, the bunch of military guys come in and arrest Schrader and Bebop and Rocksteady, like, get a big kennel for these fucking animals. He said, I fucking him hard.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe he said I fucking in here like 3 or 4 times, but whatever. Anyway, so from there they end up you know, it has this montage like Shredder's like, okay, well I guess we're all gonna just go back to our lives now. Like, no, you gotta go back home. Like, but we grew up our whole lives in Brooklyn. Like, no, you gotta go home and I gotta stay here. And each of you gotta go and drop off a crystal. Like, oh, okay, so this is a sequel. And they just like, oh no, here he is. You know, it just jumps like, you drop off a crystal to the east, you the west, you the north, you the south, and then like, April O'Neil's just talking to a web camera saying, here is the moral of the story. Sometimes you gotta change, and that's good, but it's also bad, but it's sad, but it could be good. And it's just all this being said while they're just like, okay, you know, we're gonna put the crystal.
Because she has like her thing, it says like her thing's like channel6.com, so it's like she's just doing her own thing, like trying to like fit in. Probably nobody's fucking watching this.
Thank you to all my 25 subscribers.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like one too. It's like the Turtles are just like, oh, so we gotta go to Dimension X, return the orbs. It's like, but we can never come back. Splinter's like, no, you must stay there for the end of time. It's time for me to retire, you know, and live the good life. I'm gonna go on a cruise down to Mexico.
They don't care. They don't judge me there.
Yeah, I just look like any other senior citizen.
He's just like... Yeah. I just meant they're very welcoming. That's all I fucking meant. But okay. He's like, I just like the idea of just like Raphael just being like, are there hobos in Dimension X? Like, yeah, Raphael, if you look anywhere long enough, there's a hobo for you to strangle. Like, okay.
Okay, Dad, you're not gonna be watching me for like, you know, getting pissed off at me for killing some dirty hobo, right? No, I guess I won't be anymore. I'll just be on a cruise, a bunch of other senior citizens.
They won't notice me.
Sipping martinis. And it's just like, and then it's just like, it's kind of feel like it's just one of those ones like, so what are we doing, guys? Just gonna stand around and like watch these balls? And like when they get there, I like how each one of them's like, oh, this is like, you know, Raphael's like, good, couple, like, I got 3 young boys I can train to like help go kill hobos. And then Leo's like, yes, I got 3 young, you know, students who I can train. And then, of course, Michelangelo's like, dude, one of my students is fucking hot and she's a chick. Yeah, she's younger than me. That doesn't mean I'm gonna take fucking advantage as her master.
The Me Too movement hasn't picked up yet.
Yeah, we're at Dimension X. Shit.
I can just jump worlds. That's all I gotta do.
They had Krang ruling them forever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be fucking like a god to them. I'll be fucking...
So basic.
I'm gonna be like Zeus, where I just show up at places and just, you know, have a new wife for a day or two.
And zip my pants or my shell, like, who's gonna do something about this?
That's always like the scary part about Michelangelo, because he's just had this like pent up sexual like energy that's been built up for 17 fucking years, and now he's just like, he's just gonna be like with a bunch of like female turtles, just be like, come on, we're just gonna do it. You know, like that scene in Conan the Barbarian where they just have that fucking orgy going on? Yeah, that's what I want to have, because I watched that 50 times on TV. Yeah, they didn't edit it out for some reason. I thought that was fucking weird too. And Splinter didn't like to pay for the movie channels. He says it wasn't worth it.
Well, I guess it's a good thing we didn't watch it on TBS. That whole part of the movie just would have been cut out. Like, oh, how'd they get caught? I don't know.
I don't know. We just went ahead. Whatever, but like that's almost like the part where I was like, because it leaves off with like Michelangelo, like, oh, what's Michelangelo gonna be up to? Shit, he's just a 17-year-old kid just releasing the world, just being like, here, you're pretty much a god to this planet. You keep everything in control.
Yeah, and then
fucking just hopped up on pizza with a boner.
And then they just get across. Oh shit, they don't got pizza in that world. But they probably have some joke, I bet, in the sequel if it happened. Like, oh, we're gonna introduce the world to pizza. But then the whole society loves it. But then
they stop working and get lazy.
They all just get diabetes. The planet unfolds on itself. Now, and then like, you know, they have like, you know, they imply that, you know, that Casey moves in with April, because you see him like on like, you know,
he's like, a couch, just runs and jumps and fucking lands on it.
I'm staying here now. Only place I'm ever gonna be. And then they have like Splinter going and looking at a picture of the boys when they were young, and then it zooms out of the Earth, and then you see like a nebula of Dimension X blinking in slightly, saying, "Oh, it will happen again one day," and then, okay.
Now, I will say this though: if you had a sequel movie and it only took place in Dimension X, I would be very interested in that one. You know what I mean? Like, if that's really
I would too, but I'm not sure if it still resemble the Turtles by that point.
No, well, I mean, like, the only thing is you could still do Dimension X. It's just like Dimension X always that thing that like sort of appears, but I even feel like you see it, but it's kind of like even in Ninja Turtles, whether it be the comics or the show or everything like that, it's always been kind of that thing that's just kind of like it's there. I mean, you see Krang like talking in it, but you never get to see like tons of Dimension X. But I think the whole idea of like having a movie that was just full on Dimension X would be kind of interesting. I mean, it'd be completely different. Yeah, I know like as a selling point, it's kind of hard because you're like, wait a second. So there's no April O'Neil, there's no pizza, there's no New York, there's no like what? You're so fucking far away from it now. But it's just like almost like, yeah, I think we need a movie that is just kind of completely different, but just still has the four turtles in it. You know what I mean? That's all you really need. You need to see the four turtles, and then that's your movie.
Well, at the same time, I think what I said kind of came out a little wrong, because I think that what you said could work. I'm just thinking about this world they set up, because out of this, I mean, maybe there'd be some way where Schrader, well, he doesn't even look like Schrader. He's not Asian. He's not.
He's probably
even human. He's not even human.
He's some mutoid thing that would like. I really actually have no idea what he looks like because there's not really enough description in here.
They said he has like scaled. He has like skin
spikes,
that has blades
or whatever
that recede in and out. And Bebop and Rocksteady, okay, but I mean the Foot Clan, from what they describe, there are certain things in this like, oh, that sounds so cool, and I'd so love to see that. There's other things like, oh yeah, I have trouble recognizing this as turtles or as this thing, because the Foot Clan, when they say, okay, they don't sound like ninjas. I mean, they went that middle ground of like, okay, cross between a seal and a ninja, and they look kind of like that Metal Gear Solid ninja you fight in Metal Gear Solid 2 or something.
Yeah.
Then I think that could work, but I think just because some of the things they change and kind of the whole thing of like, okay, now they got their own proteges, so these are new characters and this and that. That's a little bit more like, I'd rather just see them just do more turtle shit. But them in Dimension X, maybe if there's some weird situation where it's like turtles and maybe one or two of their enemies had to work together, like Baxter Stockman or with Bebop and Rocksteady, that'd be interesting.
Or just even use Dimension X type characters and so on. That's what I think. Don't use Earth characters. Use Dimension X characters. I mean, like you're going really balls. It's like making we're gonna do an X-Men reboot. Well, what's it take place? It's gonna take place in the Mojo world, so it's gonna really throw off like the casual fans.
I feel like whatever they're going to do, and I don't want to lead into a whole other conversation here, but I heard one theory of what they're going to do to lead into X-Men is do a Wolverine Hulk buddy cop movie kind of thing, where Wolverine's just like this guy that S.H.I.E.L.D. is captured, and he's got to go on an assignment, and he's got to work with the Hulk. And like, okay, I could be up for that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. You know what I mean?
I mean, because their first reaction in the comics was together. So, I mean, well, Wolverine's first reaction was meeting the Hulk. And it'd basically be Hulk versus Wolverine movie, but they got to work to get, but, they can't have Hulk in the title because it goes to Universal or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just gotta be that. But, well, it's like almost like this Dimension X one. I mean, you could do it where it's something where the guys get back together, like maybe it's been 6 months or a year or something like that, and now they have like their fucking own turtle army that they have with them and so on. I mean, it would definitely be different than like, because the downfall of Ninja Turtles, I think, is it's always been kind of pigeonholed to like this one like sector. Like it's just kind of I think just the average Joe thinks it's Ninja Turtles. They're always in New York. There's April O'Neil. They're in the sewers. They're eating pizza and they're fighting Shredder and Krang, and that's generally Ninja Turtles. Like, and no, there's this other kind of stuff to it, but like where it's funny where I think like other people kind of accept other things, like even in X-Men, you know what I mean? They're not only fighting Magneto, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like people have kind of accepted that like, oh, there is other X-Men villains and so on like that too. Where I always feel like Ninja Turtles, like there is this other stuff in there, but for some reason I feel like trying to sell it to a general audience, they're just always afraid to sometimes use too many different like extra things, unless maybe Shredder's still standing there, or they're still in New York and so on. Like, I almost kind of feel it's like that thing where, like, I'd love to see just, like, more, like, road traveling Ninja Turtles type stuff. It's like Batman, you know what I mean? Like, some of my favorite Batman comics are the ones where he's not in Gotham.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me the least bit if somewhere in the newer stuff, if they went more to Dimension X, and I'd be, like I said, I'd be up for that, and that's always kind of interesting. And the reason I liked the beginning part of this so much is because they take them out of their element. They're out in the country on the road and
Michigan.
It's a little bit of a road trip, and that doesn't need to be the whole movie, but for a portion of the movie, that was pretty interesting, I thought.
Yeah, because I think this movie actually has like, it's like that first part is probably like the best part of it. Like, actually, it's pretty good. It's pretty much all the way good until they kind of realize, once they find out about Dimension X, I feel like that's kind of where it peters out a little bit. It's not bad, but you're kind of like, it's not as interesting. And it's weird to say that, but like just the way it kind of like goes, or I guess it's not the Dimension X part's bad. It's once you realize that like what's going on in Dimension X and how they're from there, like that's where it's sort of like, well, you could just have the Dimension X thing that for some reason Splinter knows about. Maybe like he saw it on one of those like coast to coast late night on NPR or something.
Well, they get across that April O'Neil's the big NPR fan, so she could have been giving them down low on like Dimension X.
Yeah, exactly. Because shit, they're driving. If you're driving from Michigan probably to New York, that's probably a good long trip. If you unless you're not taking any stops or anything. But I don't know. I kind of hope that like because I haven't heard any word, but they're gonna make a third one of the new Ninja Turtles movies because I feel like the stacking that they're going. Because I mean, like I like the first one. I mean, I know it's kind of like that. That movies to me is like this is literally somebody. This is another generation's 1989 Ninja Turtles movie. Like I kind of accept it as that, but I still enjoy it for what it is. But by the time the second one came out, like the second one's really good, and then it's like I feel like the third one would be even more dialed in. But I'm not too sure. It's like it's just felt like it should have came out by now. It's like it has been like what 3 years or 4 years almost.
That one I think they said they're not making that because it didn't do as good at the box office. But right now, I want to say, Turtle stuff is back in full swing again because the cartoons were doing good. They have another iteration of the cartoon, which I heard is good. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's good. Ironically enough, the guy doing Leonardo is doing the voice for, I forgot his name, Zach something. The guy who does the voice for Leonardo is doing the voice for Sonic, and he's also doing the voice of Huey from DuckTales. So he just likes a thing for 90s blue characters.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, it's like, well, the thing is, like, those cartoons have always been doing good, and I've actually heard a lot of good things about it from people even older than us that like them a lot. It's just, to me, I just haven't got, it's just, another thing to get around to, but it's always so weird. It's like, I thought that, like, those Ninja Turtles movies, because everybody I've ever talked to who's seen, like, Out of the Shadows, they all say it's like, oh, that's actually a really fucking good movie, but I just think that, I don't know, maybe people just kind of didn't give it enough of a go. The downfalls, they're probably looking for Marvel money. That was probably the downfalls. I think everybody's looking for Marvel money now, so they look at that as, like, the barometer of how a movie does anymore.
Like everything's gonna be Endgame level good, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not even that good, but everything's gonna be like like maybe a Winter Soldier good or something like that,
Well, even whatchamacallit, Out of the Shadows, like I liked that one more than the first of the new ones, and my thing is, even though I liked it, I felt like it was pandering really hard. And I know it's just like, well, it's got a fan base, it's gonna lean on that fan basis, but I felt like it was just kind of, like it was just kind of showing me a lot of like, here's a revised version of stuff from your childhood, which is cool, but I guess I was just hoping for a little bit more better storytelling, because even the fourth one still had a good story and it still took me back to my childhood, but it was a good story and felt like it had a lot more heart to it. And what I've seen, I saw a few episodes of the CG one that's on TV. It was on TV a few years ago. And the few episodes I saw of that were actually pretty good. And not just like, oh, this is good for a kid's show. No, like it was actually good. So it's one of those things, like, I think Out of the Shadows, even though it was a step in the right direction, it could have been better. But I would see a third one if they made it.
Yeah, I mean, anything can be better. That's definitely always for sure. But I still was actually like way more impressed with that one than I even. It's just like I was like, oh, that actually is pretty dialed in. And I think it still did a lot of like things that for as far as a Ninja Turtles movie went, that like just like, oh well, we because in a sense like just doing Bebop and Rocksteady is already like one of those ones like you do that and you've already done something totally fresh in a movie because nobody's done that yet. So just having that and having Krang in there, even though Krang's only kind of in there as, so it's kind of like he's in it a little bit more than this script here, but he's kind of like only in there for like an ending boss. But I think that like a third one would have been super dialed in. It just always kind of bums me out that people get like that, where like, oh, didn't make it didn't make, $200 million, so no more sequels. And it's just
Which is too bad, because people liked this one more than the last one.
Well, that's what I mean, though. It's like, it has, like, every Turtle fan who generally watched this one was like, oh, dude, that's a fucking good movie.
Which is probably out of a reaction of the first one. Like, the first one came out, people probably weren't as blown away by it. Like, don't worry, we listen, we'll fix this for the next one. But no one went to go see that one because they still had the taste of the first one in their mouth.
Well, it's like, even the first one was like, it's still good.
It wasn't horrible.
I think it's just like one of those ones. The way I look at it, it's like it's Turtles for another generation. And that's the best way to kind of look at it. But I still actually really enjoy it. Like, I just rewatched both of those once again, and I was like, I actually like that first one way more than I even thought I did. Like, I think it's actually still a pretty darn good movie. I mean, granted, yeah, it's like one of those ones, like, I mean, it doesn't do anything radical. It's just kind of like, it's just Turtles for, the now. But if you just kind of look at it like that and just be like, it is still good. It's funny. It's like got good pacing, good action in it and so on. Like, there's nothing really to complain about. I mean, I guess it's like the hardcore Turtle fan. It's kind of like a Superman Returns where you're like, oh, you just did fucking Lex Luthor again. Can't you do anything else? But then if you kind of stand back and then just look at Superman Returns, you're like, you know what? If you just take Superman Returns for what it is, it's like, it's fun. It's enjoyable. Fuck you guys. That's how I kind of feel, Well,
I like Superman Returns, but it does, you could tell that Bryan Singer, he's never read a Superman comic. He only liked the movies, but at the same time, it's still a good movie. I still like it. And then the old Turtles, the first of the Michael Bay Turtle movies, that one, it was. I remember just watching it, and maybe I feel different watching it now. I remember when I initially saw it, I was like, I'm not mad, and it's not even like a bad movie, but I just felt like it was literally. I don't want to. I don't like this saying because I think I hear it all the time, and I think people overuse it because, like, well, what'd you expect? But at the same time, like, I kind of feel like I've seen it all before. It was just CG because even went by the same pacing to a certain extent of the first movie. In some ways, not entirely, but in some ways, it kind of went by the pacing of the first movie. And rather than having Raph be the one that got kind of caught and beat up or whatever, it was all of them, and it was Raph had to save them, and that was kind of interesting. And there's still some cool stuff in the movie, like the whole fight between Schrader and Splinter. That part was pretty awesome. But
yeah,
overall, I just remember walking the movie being, it was all right. It just didn't blow me away. But maybe I'd feel different if I watched it again.
Yeah, because it's worth giving it another go. Because I think when you give it another go and you know what it is, then it's kind of like you can go like, okay, yeah, I'll just take it for what it is. It's Turtles for 2015 kids or whatever the heck it came out. And yeah, you know what? Once you kind of accept it for like that, it's like, it actually is pretty good. But yeah, well, whatever Ninja Turtles movie actually comes out next, as long as it's not like Turtles for 2022 kids or something like that, it's like, I would like to see something that is a little bit more continual, or at least, going kind of with it. Kind of like the CG, the Turtles 4 movie, because that one was nice, because even though it came out way later, and it felt like it was coming out as, Turtles for 2007 kids, it turns out it's like, oh no, this is literally, the original Ninja Turtles just continued on, and we're going to have, brand new villains and all kinds of stuff like that. I think that's what makes that movie so strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, Turtles, or TMT, whatever, Blue Door script, very interesting. It's always kind of fun to see these scripts and to see, like, the movies that kind of either, one, was taken apart and used for other stuff, or two, what this could have been, and so on. And yeah, it's one of those ones. It's still a fun one to get into. And I wouldn't mind seeing if there's like older Ninja Turtle scripts out there somewhere along the line. If they're like whatever, like Turtles, like they're gonna make a fourth movie back in like the 90s, probably after that third one. Who knows? You never know.
They were gonna make a straight to television, animated, like CG animated movie for Hallmark.
Well, that just 90s straight to TV Hallmark CG.
Oh, it was actually 2001, but then it just kind of didn't go anywhere.
Okay, well, even that still, it's like you just hear those words together. It's just like, it's like nothing's really sounding nice about that.
Well, I saw like a little bit of like a promo for it, and like a little thing there, like a little like kind of pitch for it, and it was like that early like PlayStation 2 kind of cutscene.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it'd be like watching the Donkey Kong show again or something like that. It might be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
You never know. But yeah, fun stuff to be had. But till then, go check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics like Pizza Boys. That's Pizza Boys with a Z, animations, and all that good fun stuff. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comix Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comix Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.